Azerbaijan have died. The plane had taken off from Ganja Airport in the western Azerbaijan yesterday, but crashed shortly after crossing the border into eastern Georgia. Turkey has not said what caused the incident, but dramatic footage taken by eyewitnesses and published by Azerbaijani media appears to show the plane spinning horizontally alongside several bits of debris as it fell. Georgian air traffic control says the plane disappeared from its radar shortly after entering into airspace without transmitting a distress signal, and that it had been alerted to the crash by the emergency services. Gold is trading at $4,115.18 an ounce. The rand is at 17.13 to the dollar, 22.51 to the pound, 19.84 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $64.93 a barrel.
And in the traffic embossment, there's been an accident on the N1 South that happened after Albertina Sisulu Road. It's causing heavy delays. Please be on the lookout there. There's also queuing traffic along the N3, both directions between Vincent Chabalala Road and the Bakri interchange due to long-term roadworks.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng with afternoon showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 25 and 27 degrees. The top story in EW in this hour. Deputy President Paul Mashatile says the government of national unity is coherent and working well, promising that there won't be any embarrassing hiccups when Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana delivers the mini budget today.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
7 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. It's wonderful to have you with us here on 702. I hope you're well this morning, and I'm wishing you all the best with your plans vandag. What did you think of the head of the NPA, Shamila Batohi's testimony yesterday at the ad hoc committee? She was asked tough questions about IDEC's investigation into the head of crime intelligence, Dumisani Khumalo, and whether the corruption charges against him are solid or they're meant to distract him from his work with the political killings task team, which had made headways, you'll remember, with investigations into criminal cartels in Gauteng, working with the provincial law enforcement agencies. And here's what Advocate Batohi said yesterday at that committee.
In that matter, as I explained, well, in all matters, particularly, well, let's deal with IDAC matters, because it relates to an IDAC matter. I get very, very high-level reports, and verbally, because of leakage of information, the ID gives me very high-level reports, verbally, generally. In this particular case, she informed me about the impending arrest of the head of crime intelligence. I said to her, Andrea, are you sure this is a watertight case? Because arresting the head of crime intelligence is not something one takes lightly. There must be a watertight case, and she explained to me that it was part of a much bigger case strategy.
So, it's part of a bigger plan. Huh? Do you think she was impressive yesterday, Shamila Batohi? I'm not so sure. I mean, she's about to leave the NPA, and I honestly don't think that the NPA under her leadership has done a great of a job, especially when it comes to high-profile cases. And we need more of those because we live in a country where we are equal before the law. What do you think of her testimony? And then at the Madlanga Commission, we heard more details of how the acting head of the Ekurhuleni Police Department, Julius Konazi, was a law unto himself. The former Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department Deputy Chief Rivo, is it Spies or Spears? He told the commission about rogue police officers under the special services headed by Julius Konazi.
When we returned from the November 2021 meeting at Ekurhuleni, Chief Mapie initiated an immediate inter-department process where he issued what we call a directive, a standard operating procedure, which is in terms of our policies, he issues a directive to all the staff and the deputy chiefs, which we must then immediately comply with. This directive was that everyone's fingerprints must be taken. It must be submitted to his staff officer, Colonel Ivan Duplessis, who will then make arrangements, and Commissioner Mappier is then also, because the Provincial Police Commissioner was known about this, it was arranged with the Provincial Police Commissioner that the whole of Ekurhuleni's fingerprints will be taken, Ekurhuleni Metro Police, and then this will be analyzed by South African Police Service and feedback will be provided to us.
Was this to be done for the first time, or is it something that had been done within the EMPD before?
In EMPD, it was done, but very haphazardly and randomly. It wasn't done on a regular basis at all. It was initially when we became members, when we were established, which is like 22 years ago, it was done initially. But thereafter, it was only done when you recruit people. The recruits' fingerprints will be taken. But officers in the force would stay without having their fingerprints being taken. It's only when you do promotions. During a promotion process, the shortlisted candidates, their fingerprints will be taken, and so that you can look at the promotions. But it wasn't a regular exercise done.
I am aware that in your statement you mentioned that Brigadier Konazi refused. Konazi, yes, refused to be subjected to this. But before that, had he ever been subjected to this process?
Not at all. It would have been only during his original appointment as a recruit. That was the only time that it would have been done.
So he was refusing, we're told, to be subjected to just getting his fingerprints. And now, because of all the allegations that have come against this guy, the Ekurhuleni Metro has now suspended him, Julius Konazi, following these damning allegations of unlawful conduct. But this is the same city that protected this man for so long. I mean, remember when it was revealed back in 2023, it was revealed that he dished out blue lights to Ket Matlala. And Ket Matlala's wife was posting on Instagram showing how she's being protected and driven around in blue lights vehicles, or vehicles fitted with blue lights. When it was revealed that he also entered into questionable deals on behalf of the city, he actually returned to work after his investigation was abandoned for no apparent reason. In fact, the investigation at some point found that he was grossly dishonest. It found that he abused his power. This is in 2023. And yet, he was still allowed to return to work. And at the time, I interviewed Zweli Dlamini, who was speaking on behalf of the city, and he defended that decision. It was so wild. I should maybe play you that clip of that interview from 3 years ago. You will not believe it. And I think the city must be held accountable for having protected this man for so long. And I suspect he was protected because if he does go down, other people in the city are going to go down too, probably including politicians. And I wonder how many other state employees have left their posts, or any worker, in fact, have left their companies, the government departments, because they just couldn't continue being part of a rotten system. And when they tried to change things, they were the enemy. Because this Rivo Spies guy, he had to take early retirement because the rot in the system was just unbelievable. Is that a decision that you have had to take to leave your work because of the rot, because you were targeted when you raised issues? Let me know. 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Between 10 and 11 o'clock, we're going to do the healing hour. And today we're healing from the wounds caused by adultery. If that's a conversation you want to join, maybe you want to send your email because you don't feel comfortable calling, you're welcome to send us your story on cm@702.co.za. At 11 o'clock, we do our Listener's Choice feature. And today we're discussing the issues of self-defense and how valid it is as a defense in law. One of our listeners has asked that we discuss this. And then we're going to wrap up the show at 11:30 with the sharing space. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
Clemmy, môre man. Flores here from the beautiful Western Cape. Clemmy, what worries me is why did it take the whole afternoon for Samila Batoy to state reasons why she cannot give a name because of this person, not even knowing that he's been investigated. Why could she not told the members of the ad hoc committee that reason? Why did she have to wait until 7 o'clock? Something is fishy here with Samila Batoy as well. You can see the expressions on her face, especially when, what's that lady of Action SA told her, showed her actually evidence. Man, that was brutal. That was brutal. Well done on that lady from Action SA. I just cannot get to her name now. Have a good show. Bye-bye.
Oh, hi, Clement, this is Silver. You know what, Clement, this is an ultra rogue element. This Julius Konazi, and how did it take so long for Ekurhuleni Metro to suspend this guy? Only yesterday. You know, the evidence has been overwhelming at Madlanga Commission, even at the ad hoc commission about this guy. No, it's not on.
We're in conversation with Nedbank, discussing all the insights, expectations, and predictions ahead of the B20 Summit on 702.
The Clement Manyathela Show in conversation with Nedbank about the B20 Summit here on 702. As you know now, from the 18th to the 20th of November, business leaders from across the globe will be gathering in Johannesburg for the B20 Summit. And there are so many discussions that will be on the table, including how inclusive growth and prosperity can be achieved through global cooperation and develop policy recommendations that will inform the G20's decision-making process. So today we're in conversation with Amit Singh, who's the head of Power and Renewables Finance at Nedbank, Corporate and Investment Banking, and we are discussing all the insights, the expectations, and predictions ahead of the summit here on 702, brought to you by Nedbank, proud sponsors of the B20 Summit. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. Amit Singh, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, let's start by talking about the B20 Summit, because it's not something that most people are actually familiar with. What exactly is its role and how does it link to the G20?
So, good morning. I think that's a great question. So we all know the G20 and the context of the G20. It's a political-driven, policy-driven summit where world leaders come together and trying to find some resolutions to global issues. So what the B20 does is it's a summit that happens before the G20 where business element to assist with policy initiatives is discussed and some consensus is driven and obtained through that space. For example, on the energy space, we will try to get some consensus of how the world should use a sustainability model, what can we do in terms of empowering or powering the world, the climate crisis, all those agendas, and bring a business element into that so that when the policymakers eventually do meet and the heads of states, it's well tuned in, and of course it helps make it policy into a reality. Otherwise, it just becomes a talk shop. Because business plays a very, very big role in implementing policy. So that's basically what the B20 will be doing. Yeah. And it's just not a summit for a few days. It's been a whole years of hard work with many subcommittees, and Nedbank's been driving the energy mix and the sustainability thing through our chairman, Sir Daniel Manele, where he's chairing that subcommittee. So that's why we are very vested in this part of the B20, where we have prepared a paper, the committee has prepared a paper, policy paper, and that will be discussed and, of course, be given to the policymakers and heads of states to use that in their deliberations during the summit.
Yeah, and of course, in the lead up to G20, as you say, there have been lots of meetings, lots of committees also under discussion. You have said that it's not just geography, but credible frameworks that make a project, for instance, bankable. Can you just unpack that for us? You know, what exactly makes a framework credible enough for investors to actually take a bet on?
Yes, thank you. I think that so on the energy space of it, why this G20 summit and the B20 summit is so important, and why we think it's an important leverage for Africa to promote and use our message so that we always know there's a narrative of more than 600 million Africans that don't have access to electricity. How can this summit change that narrative? Because we know power is the oxygen of any economy. Without that, we won't have economic prosperity, industrializations. We all know what it felt like with no power during the load shedding crisis in South Africa. So the rest of the continent, it's quite dark, and living without power is almost a way of life. So how do we change that? So that's why we think the summit is an important opportunity for us to send the message of Africa, and how do we change it? And of course, how do you deliver projects that gives power, both generation and transmission in the continent? The first step is policy, government policy, support and frameworks from the multinational agencies, the World Bank, the large development agencies. How do they support South Africa and the African continent in developing these policies? So it sets the path for private sector investment and institutions like Nedbank to put our capital and our money in there to realize power projects, which I spoke about economic prosperity and how that all links up in changing the narrative of Africa's unemployment, growth, and really prosperity in the long run. So that is why the power part of it is quite an important element of this summit. And we hope that it still remains a very topical thing. You know, so much of geopolitics is happening in the world. And historically, the power and the energy transition has been a big element of this, but we hope that it still remains an important agenda in the world leaders framework.
Yeah, because also we've been talking about access to power for so many years, and you've got about 600 million still Africans who still live without electricity. So let's hope those shifts happen and they happen soon enough. You've pointed before to South Africa's renewable program as one that's actually worked. What do you think we've been able to get right that the rest of the continent can learn from?
Yes, good. And I think that's such a great success story. You know, we listen to the news in South Africa and so many bad things we're hearing, but we have something to celebrate about. 15 years ago, we embarked on the journey of renewables, energy transition, how about getting more modern grids up and going. And it was difficult initially, but through the South African government policy, the Renewable Energy Independent Power Procurement Program, the REAP program as it's known, it's been set a benchmark internationally and something where the continent can learn, where government's given fantastic framework, where private sector can develop projects in wind, solar, and other technologies. Now we're getting gas in terms of the new program. And how they develop this government framework so that it creates a good environment for capital, both independent power producers who develop the projects and institutions like Nedbank to fund these projects. So the first thing that we did as a country, we developed policies, and that policy has been a great success. We have more than 10 gigawatts of renewables. And you may ask me a question, why do I keep mentioning renewables? Is that the solution for the continent? We think, and I think historically and scientifically, it's one of the more important breakthroughs in the last 2-3 decades in terms of energy. You know, as the phone lines, we leapfrog from telephone lines to cellular. So renewables, it has a big potential of being decentralized in the continent. It's the cheapest and lowest form of generation, the quickest to come online. And that is why it's an important technology for the continent. So that's why the South African government, we had huge climate commitments in terms of our Paris commitment, and that's why renewables play an important role. But going back to your question, so the South African government policy, the support of the guarantees from National Treasury, it made it a bankable framework, and that's why we could get capital in. And of course, the program was also a very good program. There was no it was well procured, very transparent. It was developed through world standards. And that is why the continent can learn from South Africa. We have so much to be proud in terms of our energy journey. We've started it, and now we are sprinting into a very, very great space.
Yeah. And I wonder if this also gives us an opportunity to have conversations about funding, because we always talk about funding when we talk about the just renewable energy. Now that all these countries are coming here, is that an opportunity to negotiate more of that capital?
100%. And I think what it does, it shows to the world that Africa is an investable continent, and that the climate is good. It's politically, we have some problems here and there in few jurisdictions, but there's many good countries where you can put your capital. So we have an opportunity to showcase that. And of course, with that, environment and the perception of the continent, if that changes, then that naturally attracts capital. So that's the biggest thing that we can say. And of course, we can also send the narrative of the demand and the need for such a capital. We know that there's so much of money that's committed to the continent in terms of energy transition and sustainability, but realistically, very little flows to real projects and real transition and impact projects. So now I think it's a role of business and banks like Nedbank and our independent power producers is to use this opportunity to send the message that we are ready for this capital and we are ready for international investment. The climate is good. Come and invest and let us grow the continent and make it a bright, shining spark in the world.
Yeah. If you had one message for global leaders that are coming here next week ahead of this G20, what would it be?
Yes, I think what is important for me is that the continent is not closed for business. I think that's a big thing. One big sector that they can invest in is in the energy space to allow the companies and the institutions that they in their home countries to come and encourage them to come and invest in the power sector in the continent. I think that's my big thing, both in generation, transmission, modernizing our networks. It's a huge opportunity for them. And you must understand, in the real context of energy transition, most of the critical minerals comes out of Africa. So as a continent, we should also benefit from it. And I think we should not be apologetic about that and almost demand that they come and invest and re-establish their investments in the continent in the power sector. So that's my message to them. And of course, they should also support the multilateral agencies that they are shareholders and stuff to come and help develop these frameworks, use South Africa as an important benchmark and test case so that they can implement in the rest of the continent.
Amit Singh, thank you so much for speaking to us. We'll see you next week.
Yes, thank you, and really, really exciting time, and I hope South Africa is feeling the energy of this G20 and B20.
Yeah.
It's an important platform, and we have to show the world that we are ready for business.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Amit Singh, Head of Power and Renewables Finance at Nedbank Corporate and Investment Banking.
We're in conversation with Nedbank, discussing all the insights, expectations, and predictions ahead of the B20 Summit on 702.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
Will he have a slightly more positive story to tell this time around than he did, say, a year ago or even a few months ago when he was desperately trying to pass a budget?
I think it will be a slightly more positive story. I think if you look at the latest revenue data, if you look at the latest expenditure data, it's all looking a little bit better. Inflation is a little bit lower. Economic growth has picked up a little bit.
Lizette Isel de Skipper is a senior economist at the Bureau for Economic Research at Stellenbosch. Medium-term budget policy statement will be delivered at 2 o'clock.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
Josie, my Josie, a city made of swag, passion and resilience. Over here, we rise with the sun. Namateksi. We are a city of doers, creators and believers. When we unite, yonke into iyahlangana. From corner offices to corner veggie stalls or corner pre-chat and receipt. Josie, my Josie, a city where even those who were not born here are made here. Yabona la, citizenship is awarded to the curious. There's magic and beauty in our city, so we call on everyone to come experience it. Babiza bonke to come see Josie and all its people, because this city is all of us. Come witness our citizens do it. Babiza bonke to come see the actions of the invisibles. Those building our city from the ground up, so we have a home we can all proudly call Josie, my Josie. Visit josiemyjosie.com to see how Josie does it.
As leaders in renewable energy finance, Nedbank has a track record spanning over 100 years. From pioneering large-scale solar and wind farms to financing complex energy infrastructure in emerging markets, Nedbank offers clients deep sector expertise, combined with the ability to navigate the unique challenges of Africa's just energy transition. See money differently. Nedbank. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider.
This Thursday marks the first day of the second annual National Construction Summit hosted by the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure and the Construction Industry Development Board. The Clement Manyathela Show here on 702 will be live from that summit, sharing updates and more intel throughout the show. If you work in construction or are simply interested in finding out how the government is planning to solve issues affecting South African infrastructure, then don't miss it. The Clement Manyathela Show live from the second annual National Construction Summit this Thursday on 702. 9:30, time for the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. When we come back, we're going to go straight to your calls on 011-883-0702. Take your WhatsApps as well on 072-702-1702 as we continue with the 702 open line. I've asked you about Shamila Batohi, Advocate Batohi, the outgoing head of the NPA. Were you impressed with her testimony yesterday? And how do we hold the city of Ekurhuleni accountable? They have been defending this Julius Konazi guy who's linked to Ket Matlala for so long. Now they've just taken action. They've suspended him. But they have come even on this show to defend him. The very first time that they had suspended him and there was an investigation that found that in fact he was grossly dishonest and he had abused his power when it came to the issue of dishing out those blue lights to Ket Matlala. They defended him so much. I want to play you that clip after the headlines as well so you can hear how the city of Ekurhuleni was complicit. The guy has stayed on the job because he received a lot of protection, and I suspect the reason they've been protecting him is because they know if he goes down, he's going to go down with some powerful people in the city. I wonder what your thoughts are on that. Sfiso, good morning.
Thanks, Clements. Good morning. As the country prepares for its first midterm budget policy statement under a coalition government, some economists believe National Treasury faces the difficult equation of stabilizing debt, restoring credibility, and still finding space for growth. Finance Minister Inoko Dongwana is set to deliver the medium-term budget policy statement in Parliament later today, which is a little more than 3 months since the country's main budget. The new board of the Road Accident Fund has come in harsh for criticism from Parliament's Transport Portfolio Committee for suspending 4 executives just days before they were due to appear before it to explain the fund's latest financial statements. Some MPs said it appeared Friday's suspension, which include the Chief Financial Officer, were a deliberate move to shield them from accountability after the institution reported a deficit of 2.3 billion rand for the last financial year. But board chairperson Kenneth Brown said the board would have been derelict in its duty if it did not act when it did, given the maladministration it has uncovered. And police are investigating a triple murder in Mitchell's Plain in Cape Town. Officers discovered 3 bodies inside a car earlier this morning. The victims, 1 woman and 2 men, were fatally shot. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Traveling on the N1 South coming towards the Rivoli, there's queuing traffic. In fact, it's a parking lot at this particular moment. The road has been closed off to traffic between Albertina Sisulu Road and the Soweto Highway. This is due to a major accident scene that happened after Albertina Sisulu Road off-ramp. As a result, traffic is backed up approaching Albertina Sisulu. Please try to avoid, if you're heading towards areas like Soweto, please try to use the M1 South instead. Traveling on the N1, we've got delays approaching Rivonia Road turn off. Please be on the lookout there. There's also queuing traffic along the N3 both directions between the Baklu interchange and Vincent Chabalala Road. That's due to roadworks taking place along that route. And then in Kempton Park, traffic is heavily backed up along Zulfontein Road approaching the R25. There's also queuing traffic on the R21 North just as you approach Olifantsfontein Road, and that's due to roadworks. So if you're heading towards the city of Tshwane, do expect to be delayed by about 10 minutes. I'll have more updates for you. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Let's go to your WhatsApps.
Tim, you know, this Madlanga Commission has actually dampened my spirit and the trust in terms of our security and the judicial trust of the country as a whole. I don't know if I'm exaggerating, but with the revelations coming up and people covering each other, we are really on our own as a country. We are weak. We are nowhere. Even the intelligence. Andile and breaking downs. Thank you.
Andile, it's really just so sad. And that's why I'm also asking. I think we've lost some really good people who were part of the system, who were part of law enforcement, who were witnessing the rot. And some of them have tried, were brave enough to try and fight and try and fix the rot. And they were regarded as the enemy. And that's why I'm asking, if you're listening to us right now, maybe you used to be a state employee, maybe you were in law enforcement, maybe you were an investigator, maybe you didn't work for government, but your company you worked for, you witnessed that there was a rot, there was corruption, and you ended up leaving because you just didn't want to be part of it. I want you to share your stories with us. Anonymous on the WhatsApp line says, Clement, I'm a forensic investigator. I used to work in one department in government. And there was a one tip-off anonymous investigation that was leading us to a senior staff member who was close to a certain former premier. Once the premier heard that, he somehow closed our small forensic unit and stated that it was for our own safety. Politicians interfere so much in operational matters. I had to resign as our reports were just being shelved. So, you see, there are people who have tried their best, people who have been in the system, who have now had to leave. Because when they were trying to confront the corruption, they were regarded as the enemy.
Good morning, Clement. With regards to Shamila Batoy, she's been pathetic, and let's be honest. I think everyone would agree that if Glynis Breitenbach was head of the NPA, we'd be in a very different position now. I think she would have weeded out the chaff, and she would have turned that institution into something that we are proud of and something that operates properly. But under Shamila Batoy, it's been rubbish. Nothing's happened. We're waiting for the people that have been implicated in the Zondo Commission to be charged and sentenced, but nothing has happened. If Glynis Breitenbach was there, I guarantee you it would have been a completely different story to tell.
Really? How exactly do you think she would do that? How do you think Glynis Breitenbach would be the silver bullet that somehow re-energizes and fixes things at the NPA? We need to be very careful here of thinking that one person somehow has, the sweet solution to all the challenges an institution faces. Because some of the challenges are systematic. And I want to remind you of how confident a lot of you were in Advocate Shamila Batoy. One, you were confident with the system through which she ended up being the NPA head, because for the very first time ever, President Cyril Ramaphosa said, I want an independent committee of sorts, people who are going to do interviews. I don't want to be too involved in that process. They can recommend someone to us. When she started, there was a lot of confidence in her. You thought she was the silver bullet. Now you're disappointed, and sure, you could argue, rightly so. But what exactly do you think Glynis Breitenbach will be able to do that will be a silver bullet to the challenges that the NPA faces? Shamila Batoy is going to go out. There's a new NPA head who's going to come in. Let's see how far she's going to be willing to push in as far as ensuring there are prosecutions, and not just at a lower level, even high-profile prosecution. Because I personally, as a South African, would love to see that too. On top of the work, most of which is actually good, that the NPA does with normal crimes, how about we see some high-profile people in orange overalls? Because there seems to be overwhelming evidence, especially when you look at what the SIU presents, overwhelming evidence of corruption. Malibongwe, you're calling us from Midrand. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement.
Sure.
Yes, I wanted to comment on Shamila Batoy, confirming that we are now back to the Scorpions. Because Kusela Diko asked there was a difference between the Scorpions and IDEC. She said it's the same thing. They are using the more institution-led investigations, which is what caused the Scorpions to be successful. And now IDEC is going to implement the same strategy after having realized that separating these two doesn't work, as we have seen now with Shamila Patowi's dismal track record. Dismal, because they had separated these functions. Now she confirmed it. We are back at the Scorpions. I want to say shame on the NEC of the ANC that disbanded. Shame on Matthew Poza and Zuma and Tony Yengeni and everyone that was sitting in that NEC who disbanded the Scorpions. Shame on you. We are back to the Scorpions now.
Well, Malibongwe in Midrand, thank you so much for your call. Bongiwe, you are in Rosebank. What are your thoughts? Hi.
Hi. Oh, Clement, you know, for me, we need to address the elephant in the room here. You know, affirmative action was necessary and is still necessary in certain aspects of redressing the imbalance. But I'm sorry, Clement, it is also affirmative action that is getting us, especially in your government departments, where people are given roles and responsibilities that they're not qualified. You're pushing out people who are qualified based on color, just because you want to redress. But I just think, I mean, when you listen, I mean, when I was sitting there yesterday watching Spieth talk about the commissioner and putting the insignia wrong, I started asking myself, how are these people promoted? What criteria is used to promote people within these departments? Because you also see it with ministers sometimes, Minister of Environmental Affairs. I mean, it is just embarrassing. I just think for me, we've got to, you know, you're losing a lot of qualified people, and what's going to happen is we're still going to be promoting unqualified people because the qualified people don't want to be there.
Yeah, and
that is the cycle that you're going to deal with. The unqualified people are the ones that are still going to occupy those positions because the qualified people are going to be pushed out, and and then it's the cycle that just. Can we just address this issue? I'm sorry.
Who are the people in charge, Bongiwe? Because affirmative action will always be there. The problem is who are the people implementing it. So affirmative action is also prone to exploitation, the same way that religion, anything else. So the problem is not so much affirmative action. The problem is the people implementing it, because there are people who are using it to put in the people that don't qualify. Because there's no way in affirmative action that says put in any person because they're a woman, put in any person because they're black. It's the people in charge who use it, exploit it, and then say we're going to put in this person because this person is going to protect us. This person is going to serve our interests. That's where we need to focus on. Bongiwe, thank you so much for that call. It's 17 minutes before 10 o'clock. After the break, I want to play you an interview I did with someone who spoke on behalf of the Ekurhuleni government, who was defending Julius Konazi. And what I'm asking is, how do we hold the city of Ekurhuleni accountable? They can't pretend now to be a city that somehow cares about accountability just because there are revelations coming out of the Madlaga Commission. They failed to act against this man, even when there was a report that says this man grossly was dishonest, that said this man abused his power. They defended him. Now they've just suspended him. What, we must praise them because, they take accountability seriously? Please.
Access to the internet is vital for any country to grow. That's why the recent 6.75 billion rand digital infrastructure deal that Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking facilitated between Telkom and an Actors-led consortium is so transformational for South Africa. It unlocks growth and provides internet access to underserved communities who will now have access to the internet for the very first time. Search CIB Stories of Impact to watch the full story.
Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Brush, stroke, paint, color, protect, and admire. From roof paint to exterior textures and interior silk, Warrior Paints has it all. The product range and stylish colors are amazing. And what's more, Warrior Paints has crushed prices for incredible savings. Enjoy that good old-fashioned personal service you deserve. For price, quality, variety, and service, Warrior Paints is streets ahead. Warrior Paints, affordable, lasting luxury.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
15 minutes before 10 o'clock. So here's a conversation that I had with Zweli Dlamini, who at the time was speaking on behalf of the city. And just to give you some context, on that day, this is in 2023, the Sowetan had reported that Julius Konazi, who was suspended for allegedly issuing out those blue lights to Ket Matlala and entered into questionable deals on behalf of the city, had actually returned to work after his investigation was somehow abandoned for no apparent reason. And Julius Konazi was holding the position of Director of Specialized Services at the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department, right? So he had been suspended in February of 2023, accused of writing a memorandum using council letterheads, giving instructions for the private security company owned by Vusmuzi, Ket Matlala, to use blue lights from the city. So the city then found out. Matlala's partner, in fact, the reason they found out, Matlala's partner posted a video on Instagram bragging about using blue lights, right? And zigzagging traffic to fetch her children from school. The same vehicles which were registered in the municipality's name were seen on videos she posted, taking her even to the airport. So this is someone who was boastful, showing her followers the luxurious life that she lived. So in essence, this Metro Corp, Julius Konazi, basically allowed and facilitated the use of blue lights by civilians. That was the accusation when he was suspended. So I spoke to Zweli Dlamini. At the time, he was speaking on behalf of the city. Listen to how he defended that.
What charges Julius Konazi was facing? Why was he suspended earlier this year?
Look, there were allegations that were leveled against Mr. Konazi with regards to issue of blue lights and so on. So what happened is there was an investigation that was carried out by the Metro Police Department, which then submitted a report to HR. We are now in the process of investigating. After studying the report, it was then concluded that further investigations need to be undertaken before we can actually proceed with any disciplinary hearing. So right now, that's where we are.
Okay, so on what basis then has he returned to work?
He was suspended for 90 days as per the Labor Relations Act, and to allow us to do further investigations at that particular time. That was the initial investigation that was being done, carried out, so that there is no interference on his part in terms of what must be done or what is being investigated or not, and so on.
But you're not done with the investigation, right?
No, after the 90 days, he came back to work. The investigation had been concluded, the initial one. And now there was then a need, Clement, to then say, look, we have studied this report. There are certain areas that still need to be investigated further. Therefore, we are going to be investigating further. But the first investigation, the initial investigation was done, concluded, and submitted to HR, and further investigations going on.
Okay, so are you going to suspend him again? Because initially when you suspended him, you said we don't want you to interfere, go away. Now there's further investigations that are being done. So is he going to be suspended again?
Chances are, as soon as we've concluded with the investigations that we are doing now, and he's being charged, obviously cannot be at work when he's being charged and undergoing a disciplinary process. So definitely chances are he's going to be suspended when he's charged, as and when he's charged.
Okay, hold on. I'm a little confused here. The report that the Metro Corps or the Metro Police had presented, right, with the charges. There was an investigation that you say was done and was completed in 90 days. What was the outcome of that investigation?
There were certain recommendations that were made there. Issues of dishonesty in terms of discharging duty. There is also the issue of abuse of power in terms of his rank, and so on. So basically, those came up.
So the probe found that he must be charged for the abuse of power and dishonesty, right?
Yes.
So how is he allowed to come back to work?
No, the issue is, that's what I'm trying to clarify, Clement, to say we studied the report. our legal team studied the report, and it was determined that we need to do further investigation. So basically, that cannot be concluded as fact. The initial report was studied, and then we said, no, we need to do further investigation before we can actually charge the man. He's not found guilty of anything. Remember, he must be presumed innocent until found guilty of any crime.
But if the very basis of his suspension in the beginning was so that you can carry out investigations and it doesn't interfere, why is he at work now when you are continuing with investigations?
In terms of the law, he's suspended for 90 days. He must come back if you have not charged him within that 90 days. And that is basically what we are doing. We're sticking by the rule of the law here. And by the way, further investigations does not mean necessarily that he will interfere with anything now. We are saying we just need to do a thorough investigation before we charge him. Because if we're going to charge somebody, we must make sure that the charges stick. And that's basically what we are doing.
No, come on. Zweli, this sounds to me like this man is being shielded from accountability. His conduct, as per your initial report, says this man's conduct may have amounted to the abuse of his position of authority and gross dishonesty, abuse of resources of the city to benefit his associates. You are saying you suspended him initially because you wanted to do investigations. You didn't want him to interfere. And yet, even when that report, the outcomes are telling you that this man has a case to answer and you must investigate further, you're still comfortable with him being at work. That doesn't make sense to me.
Clement, unfortunately, we just have to differ, unfortunately. We are saying we are not shielding him from anything. That must be clear. There is no way that the municipality can shield anyone who is actually facing serious allegations against them. The disciplinary process of the city is still underway. Investigations are being carried out. It does not mean that he is not going to be disciplined whatsoever. We are saying, allow us time, let's do a thorough investigation. He will definitely face the music if there is a need to face the music. So there is nothing that we are shielding Mr. Konazi from here.
What do you mean the disciplinary hearing is underway? Because there was one that was supposed to start in July, right? Did that take place?
I'm saying the disciplinary process is underway. I'm not saying the hearing. It's a process that is underway.
The investigation is underway, not the disciplinary process.
The disciplinary process, they're actually going together.
That's not the same thing. That's not the same thing. You investigate, there's an outcome, you discipline. So which is which? What's underway now?
Right now, we are doing a further investigations. And it does not mean that the disciplinary process, in fact, let me correct myself here. It does not mean that the disciplinary process will not get underway. We are just doing further investigations. When concluded, the disciplinary process then gets underway.
So, so this man, what's the plan? So the further investigation that you're doing, you don't think he's going to be the risk and may interfere in this further investigation, even though you thought he may interfere in the initial investigation. So with this further investigation, you're comfortable with him continuing at work?
Yeah, we are comfortable because all the areas that we could have, or maybe we suspected he could have interfered with, have been covered. The extra investigation we are doing, there is no way he can actually have access to that. Unfortunately, I cannot divulge exactly what we're talking about here.
I'm not a labor law expert here, but I'm struggling to understand how you can investigate someone when they're currently still on the job.
Clement, the report has been studied. Certain aspects of the report are being investigated further. And the legal team have actually made it clear that they can actually do that even if it's at work, there is no risk involved.
Zweli, thank you, man, for making time. South Africa is alive with possibilities, I tell you. Someone allows and facilitates the use of blue lights vehicles to a private citizen. There's an investigation that the Metro Police does, which finds that this person must be charged with the abuse of power and dishonesty because he abused the resources of the city to benefit his associates.
But the Metro Police Department says, no, he can come back to work. It's okay. They suspended him early this year, saying, well, we don't want him to interfere in the investigation. But even when that investigation finds this, they're like, no, come back. It's okay, bro. Oh, and now there's no risk anymore. I get in the beginning, they said he may interfere with witnesses. Now there's no risk anymore. He can still come back to work, continue with everything while we further investigate. And what are you further investigating? When your initial report has already indicated to you this man must be charged with abuse of power and dishonesty. What more evidence do you want? This country.
That was back in 2023, guys. Julius Konazi has been defended by the city of Ekurhuleni. They don't want to come speak to us now because I wanted to ask them, why are you taking action against this guy now? Like you pretend like you care about accountability? Shame on the city of Ekurhuleni for having protected the man who was busy protecting criminals.
Part of the 702 family.
Hi, my name is Mbalenhle Felicity Ngubane, and I'm from Johannesburg. I'm staying in Malaysia currently. 702 helped me through my depression, my divorce, COVID. So I'm very, very happy that 702 helped me through all of those years. And I'm still going to continue listening to you guys from the morning to the evening. And yeah, thank you, 702.
Welcome to our 702 family. Let's walk the talk.
Summer is about rewarding yourself with oceanic views, sizzling braais, and so much more. Earn your share of 120 million rand in real cashback, depending on your rewards tier, when you pay with your Absa Visa card. Plus, enter the Absa Swiper competition and stand a chance to win one of 10 cars. This summer could be the best you've had in years. Your story matters. Absa, T's and C's apply. Absa is an authorized FSP and a registered credit provider.
Summer's almost here, and so is the magic of the Stodels pot promotion. For a limited time, enjoy up to 50% off pots of every size, shape and color. Big or small, indoor or outdoor, plastic or ceramic. There's something special about finding the perfect pot, the one that brings color, life and joy to your garden. Hurry, this once-a-year event ends 16 November. Visit your nearest Stodels Garden Centre today. Stodels, create happiness.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
3 minutes before 10.
Hi, Clement. This is nonsense. This is really nonsense, to tell you the truth. Other people like us were incarcerated, and we never went back to work when we came back. Even after the appeal and they found that I never did anything, they used my card for fraud, and I got incarcerated for that because I'm the one that's responsible of my card. But anyway, besides all of that, I never went back to work. Why is it people like Konazi and others, they are able to go back to work while other government employees like us are sitting at home and trying to mend and try to find a job? I can't even find a job. Now I must try to sort my life out just because of one mistake, which I've never even done a crime before. But now because of this, but people like Konazi goes back. It's nonsense.
Clement, let's be. I deal a lot with disciplinary cases. We suspend people only when we feel they will tamper with the investigation. But if what we are investigating cannot even be altered, it's system records that can be changed or things like that, then there's no need to suspend the person. But where you feel this person will tamper with the investigation itself, with witnesses and whatnot, then you suspend. So it's not automatic that people have to be suspended because they are being investigated. In many cases, we investigate a person for 12 months without them even knowing that we are investigating them.
The difference here is Ekurhuleni said, when they suspended him for the first time, they said, hey, we're worried that this person is going to interfere with witnesses. And then the report comes after that investigation. The report says, hey, this person actually lied grossly dishonest, abused his power to benefit his friends. So we have to do further investigations. And then what? Suddenly now he's not going to interfere because the witnesses are still the same people. It doesn't make sense.
Day 20, awaiting proof of payment. Day 30, still waiting. Day 40, funds finally cleared. In business, credit with 55 interest-free days keeps you moving. We get it. Get an ABSA Business Credit Card. Use over 50% of your credit and initiation fees will be on us. Offer ends 31 December 2025. Apply at absa.co.za/business. ABSA is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply. ABSA, your story matters.
KwaZulu-Natal has it all, believe it. The Zulu Kingdom is home to unforgettable adventures and experiences that will stay with you forever. Why not invite Abundase and whale watch along our wild coast, or turtle track in the heart of St. Lucia? Take a tour of our historic battlefields. Then rise above the beautiful Midlands meander in a hot air balloon trip made for two. Unforgettable happens here. Zwagala.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. As the country prepares for its first midterm budget policy statement under a coalition government, some economists believe National Treasury faces the difficult task of stabilizing debt, restoring credibility, and still finding space for growth. Finance Minister Enoch Dongwana is set to deliver the midterm budget policy statement in Parliament later today, a little more than 3 months since the country's main budget. The mini-budget allows government departments to apply for adjustments to their budgets, rollovers, and request additional funds for unforeseeable and unavoidable expenditures. It also sets out the policy framework for the budget that is presented every February and updates National Treasury's economic forecasts. Nokayam Dambo takes a look.
National Treasury will present the 2025 medium-term budget statement against the backdrop of a modest domestic recovery and an increasingly tumultuous global landscape. Economists at Nedbank believe Treasury will likely reduce its GDP growth forecast for 2025 slightly due to shrinking fixed investment and lower exports in the first half of the year. They also project higher revenue growth in the current fiscal year, supported by robust increases in personal, corporate and value-added taxes. Nedbank estimates an overshoot in gross tax revenue of 60 billion rands in 2025-2026. Economists at Investec agree that there'll likely be a fairly substantial overrun in revenue receipts, adding the doubling in the gold price to nearly $4,000 per ounce boosted mining revenues in addition to platinum. Treasury's efforts to ensure fiscal consolidation through spending restraints and efficiency measures are also expected to take center stage. Nogukanyam Dambo, Eyewitness News.
The new board of the Road Accident Fund has come in for harsh criticism from Parliament's Transport Portfolio Committee for suspending 4 executives just days before they were due to appear before it to explain the fund's latest financial statements. Some MPs said it appeared Friday's suspensions, which include the financial or chief financial officer, were a deliberate move to shield them from accountability after the institution reported a deficit of 2.3 billion rand for the latest financial year. But board chairperson Kenneth Brown said the board would have been derelict in its duties if it did not act when it did, given the maladministration it has uncovered. Lindsay Dentlinker reports.
On Friday, the Road Accident Fund announced the precautionary suspensions of 4 top executives, including its acting CEO, to allow for unhindered investigations. Slammed by MPs over the timing, board chairperson Kenneth Brown says the suspensions were a long time coming after the new board began uncovering what he has termed egregious acts.
We don't want to be seen just to be acting willy-nilly. It is not as if last week we just took a decision that we're going to do it.
Brown has offered to return to the committee to reveal what the board's investigations have found, and that has prompted the suspensions.
We'll tell you the level of corruption that is within this particular organization. We will tell you the corrective steps that we are taking. We will give you the vision.
The committee has also questioned the legality of appointing a former acting chief financial officer, Victor Zongelwa, to return to the organization as an interim chief executive officer. Rise Mzansi's Makashule Ghana said the sequence of suspensions and appointments did not add up. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News. Parliament.
3 people have been killed in the latest shooting in Cape Town. Officers found the bodies of a woman and 2 men inside a car in Mitchell's Plain this morning. The police's Andre Trout says the attack is suspected to be a gang hit.
Provincial Commissioner Lieutenant General Temensili Patekeli has condemned the killings. Detectives are pursuing the suspects and police will continue to clamp down on those behind such violence.
And Ukraine's Prime Minister Yulia Shrydenko says the country's justice minister has been suspended amid a corruption scandal in the country's energy sector. Shrydenko, who announced the decision on social media after a government meeting, says Chairman Galushenko's duties had been taken over by the Deputy Minister for European Integration. Ukrainian authorities charged 7 individuals in relation to an alleged $100 million kickback scheme involving senior energy officials that has caused public anger and focused attention on Kyiv's battle against corruption. But they have not specified whether this is in relation to the energy corruption case investigated by the National Anti-Corruption Bureau. Gold is trading at $4,115.18 an ounce. The rand is at 17.13 to the dollar, 22.51 to the pound, 19.84 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $64.93 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got heavy traffic volumes along the N1 South between Albertina Sisulu Road and the Soweto Highway. This is due to an earlier incident or accident where a tanker crashed with a car along the N1 after Mariasburg exit. So please be on the lookout there and expect about a 20-minute hold-up. If you're traveling on the M1 South, the M1 North, delays between the Crown Interchange and Carr Street. There's also queuing traffic on the N3, both directions between Vincent Chabalala Road and the Baklu Interchange.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng with afternoon showers and thundershowers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 25 and 27 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, as the country prepares for its first midterm budget policy statement under a coalition government, some economists believe National Treasury faces the difficult task of stabilizing debt, restoring credibility, and still finding space for growth.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
7 minutes after 10 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. Let me just wrap up the previous hour, the 702 open line, with just a few WhatsApp voice notes, even if it's just 2, because there are some that came through, and of course we had interviews. I played you an interview, so I didn't have enough time to play your WhatsApp voice notes. But this just is in response to the conversation I played for you that I had with Zweli Dlamini, who was speaking at the time on behalf of the city of Ekurhuleni. And the issue really of contention was that already back in 2023, they had found that this Julius Konazi guy had grossly been dishonest. They had found that he had abused resources of the city to benefit his associates. This is when he installed those blue lights for Ket Matlala. So he was suspended because they said, okay, we need to do investigations. We are worried that you're going to interfere with witnesses. And then they suspended him. And then when the first report was issued, it found that this person has actually hasn't been telling the truth. And he did indeed abuse his resources to benefit his friends when he issued out those blue lights to Ket Matlala. And yet, for some reason, they still allowed him to come back to work, even though they were still investigating further. So when did the worry that he may interfere with witnesses disappear? because the very same witnesses they were worried he may interfere with when they suspended him are the same witnesses as they continue to investigate further. The charges have not changed. And the point I was trying to demonstrate to you by playing that interview is the city of Ekurhuleni has consistently defended this man. So when they're acting now and they pretend like they are serious about accountability, just know the context. Know that there has been pressure put on the city of Ekurhuleni to act against this chap. And they failed to do it. In fact, they defended him, even when it didn't make sense. How can a report come back and say this person grossly has been dishonest? This person has indeed abused his power, and yet you still somehow allow him to go back to work. Even though you said the very, very same charges he's facing, you're worried that he may interfere with witnesses. That's why you told him to stay at home. And as I've said, I suspect the reason they've been protecting him so much is because if he goes down and he starts talking, there are more people that may go down with him.
Clement, this is completely unacceptable. What Konazi is being accused of, these are complete dismissible offenses. I mean, going back and forth, up and down and all of that, at states' resources, taxpayers' monies and all of that. They must just dismiss this guy. I don't understand why they even brought him back. So this is truly, truly unacceptable. And it just completely shows that, the HR policies are being ignored and they're not being followed. But anyway, what do you expect?
That man is totally talking nonsense. We know there are two processes here. There's a disciplinary hearing at work where you can be found guilty and be fired at work. And there's also a criminal investigation. So at work, they have found that he has that misconduct. Why isn't he being dismissed or fired? And then still, that process doesn't stop the criminal investigation. There must also be criminal investigation. Whether in criminal investigation he's been found guilty or not, it has got nothing to do with the conduct that he has done at work. He can be found not guilty criminally but still be dismissed at work. That man is talking total something that it's out of order. Also from Naledi.
But that's how these people underestimate and take you for granted. Because you've put them in office. So they don't give a heck. They don't give a heck about you anymore until they need your vote again. And when they're in office, they don't care that the decisions they take are viable, they work for you or not. That's what's disappointing here. Even in the face of evidence, as a city, you have instituted an investigation. The investigation comes back and says to you, this person has not told the truth. This person has abused power. But because you're protecting that person, he's got political protection, you still allow him to come back to work. That was back in 2023. We've asked the city to come join us for a conversation this morning. They refused. Of course they will refuse. Because how are they going to explain the fact that even when there are reports that were telling them that this man has abused his power, they still kept him on the job? And you know what I hope for? I hope this guy is going to get some conscience and start speaking out. The same way that Clement Manyathela is possibly going to start speaking out when they go to Kgoshi Mampuru to hear from him, the ad hoc committee. I hope this man can find his conscience. I mean, he has lied. He was on ENCA like recently, a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, no, I don't know this man. Talking about Clement Manyathela. He's lied. And yet there are WhatsApp messages that show of how they've even called each other brother. And that's a man the city has been protecting for years. Now, how do we hold the city accountable? It's 14 minutes after 10 o'clock.
702
Healing Hour.
All right, time for our monthly feature, the Healing Hour. And this is a feature where we dedicate an hour for us as the 702 family, as the friends of the Clement Manyathela Show. We have a conversation amongst ourselves. No guest, just us, having a conversation about matters that have troubled us, issues maybe that have traumatized us, and we have a conversation about how we are healing. And as I always remind you every time we do the healing hour, this is a safe space. It's a safe space for us to share our pain, to share our stories of survival, our experiences as friends, as a family, as a community with no judgment. And today, we are healing from the wounds that have been caused by adultery. Because cheating can be a devastating experience, even for children. And I think there's an opportunity for us to talk about how we have been affected by witnessing our parents cheat, because that's a traumatizing experience. Cheating doesn't just affect the couple, it affects the entire family unit. And I wonder how you were affected by it. And I wonder how you have dealt with it when you witnessed it. It can leave lasting scars. And what I want us to do today is have an open and honest conversation about the emotional impact of cheating on children. Whether you witnessed your parents being unfaithful, or maybe you're a parent yourself today and you're seeing the impact of adultery on your children. I mean, for children, witnessing their parents' pain can cause confusion, can cause anxiety, a loss of faith in the stability and security of their family. I'm reminded, in fact, of the was it a documentary, Tiger Woods documentary? You should check it out. Where it's revealed in the documentary how his dad used to take him to the women that he was cheating on with. And I think that's a phenomena that is still very much entrenched in our society today. There are men that are so emboldened, and even women, that they are going to take their children with them when they are going to see women or men that they are cheating on their partners with. And your child is in the car with you while you go on a date, or you leave the child in the car while you go speak to the person you're cheating with. Have you ever thought about the impact that has on your child? Tiger Woods' dad did that. He used to take him. While he goes check on his girlfriends, he used to take his son with him. And now, if you follow Tiger Woods' story, you actually see how the trauma has expressed itself when he started getting into adulthood. So, when you are witnessing the breakdown of your parents' relationship, that can have long-lasting psychological and emotional effects. I mean, children can experience feelings of guilt. They can blame themselves for the affair. They can struggle with trust issues in their own future relationships. So, how have you healed? Because I think sometimes when we talk about the impact of cheating, we focus only on the couple. We focus on the perpetrator, we focus on the victim. How about the children? So I would like to know from you this morning, how have you healed from that? How have you been affected by witnessing adultery in your family unit as a child? How did you deal with it at the time? Because I know, and I remember how me and my brother dealt with it when we were young. Remember, we found a number on my dad's phone of a lady we knew he was involved with, and we called her. I don't know where we got the I don't know. It reminds me of the guy at the Madlaga Commission. He used the same words. I don't know where we got the strength and the confidence to do that. Yeah, those are the words you say on the radio, not the word I wanted to say. But we did. And I remember we went into the corner and we took the phone and we called this lady and we said, please stay away. Like, stay away. This is many, many years ago. We were so young. And I just think it's so unfair that children sometimes have to find themselves in a situation like that where they have to intervene because they're seeing their family unit break down to pieces. I think it's unfair for children to be taken with when their parents are going out to cheat. And I hope part of what this conversation will do is help us understand the impact on the children. And maybe you have been a victim. Maybe your husband, maybe your wife, maybe your partner is the one that's cheated on you and you've just focused on how that's affected you. I hope this can get you to realize that your children also equally need that attention. And children are not stupid. Sometimes we think, they've not picked it up. Trust me, most of the times they can see. Are you a child that has grown up in a family where you have witnessed adultery? How have you dealt with it? Have you healed from it? Are you like me and my brother and you somehow found a way to intervene where you call the person and you tell them stay away because what you're doing is breaking our family? And I remember once we did that, the conversation that was had was, why did you do that? Stop getting yourselves involved in your parents' business. Yeah. Some children are scared to speak out because they are probably going to be punished. Or they're going to be told, what are you doing? Get involved in the business of adults. You've got nothing to be involved in this. Like, this doesn't involve you. You're a child. Isn't that what we were consistently told? So, as a parent as well, how are you helping your children heal from the effects of infidelity? Because I believe that by acknowledging the true magnitude of the impact of cheating, of infidelity, we can begin to foster empathy. We can begin to foster understanding and work towards rebuilding trust and the bonds that hold a family together. Let's talk. 011-883-0702 is the number to dial. You can send us a WhatsApp voice note as well to share your story on 072-702-1702. This is a safe space.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 Rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
For 3 consecutive years, Nedbank has been recognized as the best investment bank in South Africa at the Global Banking and Finance Review Awards. Whether helping clients navigate cross-border risks or building financing frameworks that support market reform, Nedbank is a partner in more than just capital. We're part of the architecture supporting Africa's renewable energy future. See money differently. Nedbank. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider.
702
Healing Hour.
24 minutes after 10 o'clock. Lerato, you are calling us from Pretoria. Good morning.
Hi, Clement. How are you?
I'm all right, Lerato. How are you?
I'm good. I was just telling your producer that you are touching me on your studio.
Hey, I've touched myself in my studio.
So Clement, mine, I'm going to try and keep it short. So we 3 girls of my dad. And every single one of us have caught him with some sort of woman or other. My youngest one was the worst because she caught them in my mother's bed, basically. She came back from school, and there they were. And every single time would tell my mom, my dad would literally gaslight her. And gaslight us, into believing that like we're lying. And my mom believed him all the time, right? And as a result, my mom's self-esteem is like low to the lowest. Like my mom does not believe in herself. And to the point where, like, when I got married, I was so obsessed with a non-cheating spouse.
Yes.
That you almost self-sabotage in your own
And
marriage.
you question everything, Lerato.
Every single thing, and it's because of what it was, right? And it becomes such it's a thing. For me, I always say to my husband, it will be the thing that will break the camel's back. I don't even want to discuss it because I don't want to question who I am and why did you do what you did, because I know what I mean. My mom even went to a mental institution because of what my dad did. But I mean, what do they say in Sepedi? It almost drove her crazy. But yeah, I know how it feels. It's not good for the kids at all.
It's not, Lerato. And but I'm glad that you guys have survived to also, start building your lives differently, not to go through the same thing. And the sad thing is that, right, Lerato says, they used to tell the mom and the dad used to say, no, these kids are lying. And of course, when you are young and there's someone older than you who's consistently defending themselves and says these kids are lying, often mom is going to believe the husband, or husband is going to believe the wife. Because maybe children are confused about something. They are confusing daddy's relationship with a colleague or whatever the case may be. But that thing is so traumatic for us as children. We grow up and we question everything. You've got a partner who is on the phone and they're in the car, in the garage while finishing off a call. You already think that they're up to something because you have seen someone in your family unit growing up go through that. Lerato in Pretoria, thanks for sharing your story with us. Mpo, you are calling us from Midterm. Good morning.
Good morning, Manyathela. How are you?
I'm all right, Mpo. Go ahead.
I'm good. Well. The issue you're talking about, it is really affecting kids.
Yeah.
And with my situation, I found out about, I think it's 4 months ago, that my partner is cheating with the colleague at work, right? Now, when the day I found out, my daughter 5 came back from school. I mean, I just cracked. I couldn't keep my tears, and then she was able to give me a hug. And through her attitude, because she's 11, her attitude has changed. Her attitude had changed recently towards her mom, and one would not understand why. But remember, when parents are ignorant, then sometimes, because when you go, like you said, the story of the golfer, that when you go to this thing, sometimes go with your kids, and they're looking at the situation. And one day, my daughter, I remember she was telling her mother that the day you decide to find a stepdad, please disown me as your daughter. And I couldn't understand that. And when I found out that this thing has been going on for about almost a year, So you would understand that when your daughter comes back from wherever, says, no, uncle, who and who, I don't know the uncle, but he dropped us. So you understand that, okay, it was not a board, it was an uncle. Okay, it's fine. Men have got an issue of just ignoring things sometimes, but that also kills us. The fact that you are told Uncle Banbani just dropped us, and then you just don't read too much into it. But that again comes from how you trust that particular partner. You think she will never cross that line, but the kids. Lately, when I sit and just keep quiet, my daughter will just jump onto me and give my a hug. And say,
Does she know what's going on in Mpho? Did you share with her, the daughter?
I did not share in detail, but I think she has known long ago. And when she found me cracking, it because I couldn't keep it in me. When I looked at her, the thought of leaving them, it's another painful. I tell you now, Clement, I've been trying to fix this, even though I know I've been trying to fix this thing ever since I knew 4 months ago. I've been trying to fix it, though they keep choosing the other guy. And
so she still chooses the other guy
over us fixing whatever. Even when I'm saying, you know what, I'm willing so that we put this behind us and we move on. But
what are you gonna do, Mpho?
To tell you the truth, Clement, at this point, I am clueless. Why am I clueless? Let me give you an example. Yesterday, I'm actually a bold Uber driver. Like, for example, yesterday, we should have went and picked up a brother in university, in Valley University. I said, you know what? I can't be able to do it now. Can we do it that tomorrow morning, meaning today?
Yeah.
While I was doing my rounds, they said there's no electricity. I decided to take food for my kids. When I arrived, the brother and the brother have been dropped by the same guy that they are.
No.
So it means you are delaying. Because you are delaying,
but that's also disrespecting your household, Mpho. Just disrespecting the family for this guy to even come to the house. If you don't mind me asking, Mpho, is she doing this as a retaliation? Have you also cheated on her before and maybe she feels she's doing it because you've done it? No.
Now, for me, cheating it's way beyond my age. I've done that long time ago when we were still playing. But now, I've been that guy. You find, I even have the circle of my friends. I think I only have 2. I've changed 2.
Yeah.
You know, I've been trying so hard so that I'm not there.
Yeah. Oh, Mpho. Oh, yeah. And I really apologize for the quality of the line, but I think we got the gist of what Mpho in Midrand was saying. I mean, the minute the wife even brings in the guy she's cheating with at home to drop them off, what level of disrespect is that? And you do these things in front of children. And I think as parents, we need to ask ourselves serious questions about whether we actually care for our children. Why are you doing it in front of the children? Why are you taking your kids when you're going to see the person you are busy with outside of your relationship, outside of your marriage? You don't care. You're so selfish that you don't care about the impact this is going to have on your child. And don't think just because the child is 6 years old is not going to be able to pick up what's going on here. Child are smart enough to be able to read energy. You are destroying your children's future. Your children are going to grow up, they're getting into relationships where they do not have trust. How do they trust when they grow up in a household where trust was destroyed so willy-nilly, so easily? Tapelo, Patu, I'll start with your calls after the break. It's 10:33. Siso, hi.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. 3 security guards have been injured and another sustained burnt wounds during an explosion at the Bree substation. Joburg City Power says the blast happened last night, affecting some parts of the CBD, leaving them without electricity. Investigative teams discovered a burnt knife near the affected cables, which are believed to have been tampered with. Deputy President Paul Mashatile says the GNU is coherent and working well, promising that there won't be any embarrassing hiccups during the mini-budget today. Answering questions in the National Assembly yesterday, Mashatile said despite challenges over the past year, the GNU has learnt from the budget bungle earlier in the year. And the BBC's outgoing boss has urged employees to fight for their journalism as the British broadcaster grapples with how to respond to US President Donald Trump's threat to sue over a misleading edit. Team Davis's rallying cry came after Trump threatened the BBC with a $1 billion lawsuit. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
There's heavy delays on the N1 North. This is as you leave Soweto towards Roadport. This is due to that earlier accident where a vehicle overturned right after Albertina Sisulu Road, causing delays coming out of the N17. And then on the opposite side of the road, an earlier accident was causing those delays coming out of Maritzburg Road. But I'm seeing now ease of traffic at this particular moment. The delay is only between 14th and Albertina Sisulu Road. While traveling on the N1 South out of Midrand, do expect delays between Allendale Road and the Baklu interchange. There's also queuing traffic on the N3 North between Marlborough Drive and the Baklu turnoff due to roadworks, while more roadworks are causing some delays along the N17. This is just as you approach Rondebult Road. Please be on the lookout there and drive with care. More updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. The Midday Report.
Weekdays,
12 to 1.
A huge police operation today to, I suppose, protect the two Ndimande brothers.
It's been a long road for the team. We have been anticipating this moment for quite some time. We are leaving nothing to chance. It's a high-risk operation. We are not just dealing with your normal day-to-day criminals. We are dealing with contract killers. They need to come and tell us who sent them to go and kill AKA and tips. We do believe they have the answers.
Aklende Mate, Brigadier.
The Midday Report,
With Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
I'm Samela Kelboy, an actress and mom to 3 lovely kids. I worry about how sugar can make them sick. Drinking sugary drinks could lead to diabetes, heart disease, and obesity as they get older. Diabetes is one of the top causes of death in South Africa. I'm joining the fight to demand government puts our health ahead of greedy industry profits. Government must act now. Increase the health promotion levy on sugary drinks. Sign the petition on healer.org. That's HEALA.org.
So you thought you were building a business in this economy, but day by day, somehow it grew. You kept going when the freezer didn't freeze, the bucket didn't budge, and the bank balance barely blinked. So you thought you were building a business. You weren't. It was building you. Because this isn't just what you do anymore, it's who you are, and you don't trust just anybody to protect it. Chat to your broker about Old Mutual Insure Business Insurance. Protect what built you. Old Mutual Insure Limited is a licensed FSP and non-life insurer.
702.
Healing Hour.
23 minutes before 11 o'clock, we're talking about the impact of adultery, cheating, on the children. And I know most of the time we focus on the couple, on the perpetrator, the victim. And I think we have been missing out on at least trying to understand how our children have been affected, because that is traumatic for them. And sometimes you may think they're not aware, but they are. And I hope part of what we're discussing today can help you at least start thinking more and more about how the children may have been affected, and you start giving them the necessary help that they need. We're taking your calls on 011-883-0702, your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. Tapelo, you are in the Johannesburg South. Good morning.
Morning, adults who are former children. 23 years later, I get to talk about this publicly, and hopefully there'll be an ear that believes me and sympathizes with the pain that I witnessed.
Yeah.
So when I was 8 years old, I witnessed my mother physically with the man that used to work at Telkom. My father being a miner coming back from work every day. She continued with that relationship, and they would chase me out to go buy beer for them. Now further exposing me to Konazi. And my sister never believed me. From there on, my mother hated me for witnessing what I was not snooping around for. She exposed us because she brought that man into the house and continued to. And I never told my father of this relationship, but my mother was already ill-treating me of that. And now in the same household, witnessing your parents being physical again, and then you've got that disgusting image in your head that you saw her with this man, and now you're seeing her with your father. Soon after my father died, while she was still in the black mourning, she was involved with a taxi driver that worked at my home. She was sleeping with a taxi driver in the bedroom that I was sleeping with her. It's only 2 years ago I learned that my father knew of this relationship of her and the taxi driver. My sister never believed me. My mother's been ill-treating me, 2 girls only, but it traumatizes me that I did not go searching for this. So why am I being ill-treated by this? And you know the comforting words that she gives me? No, I refuse to be a mother that's going to cheat and expose her children to that nonsense. It hurts me because my mother treats me so differently and hates me for that. The relationship is... So now she's moved on. Now she's a widow, rightfully so. She has the right to have a partner. I have not adjusted to the partners that she has ever had. Now, people who don't know the back history think I'm selfish. Why I don't want my mother to be happy. She's got the right to have her own life of being a widow. They don't know that she did this nonsense long before my father. And she wishes that something would come up that's better about my father. My father had taxis, but I don't have a half-brother somewhere. I don't have a half-sister. There's no woman that has showed up. She wishes something like that to happen so that she can present a case like, oh, that is why in womanhood this happen. And society portrays as if women don't cheat. It's only men that cheat, you know. I get to talk about this.
Yeah, Thapelo, thank you so much for... And I'm sorry, first of all, about what you've gone through. Nobody deserves to be exposed to something like that and then be treated the way that you've been treated. I'm sorry. And I'm grateful that you've also been brave enough to call us and be vulnerable to share such a story with us. And I hope that it will impact someone else, or it will make someone else who's going through the same thing know that there's someone out there who has walked this journey and it can give them some strength. Thank you for your call, Thapelo, in the Johannesburg South. Patu, you're calling us from Joburg as well. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and all the listeners. Thank you so much. Oh my God. You get to a point where you think you've actually healed, but just from your intro, it just took me back. You know, I grew up thinking that my dad was my hero, you know. I felt like I had the perfect childhood, you know, he was present. And then the older you get, your eyes get open to start realizing certain things, you know. And then that's when I started realizing that actually my dad has not been faithful to my mom, because he actually had kids who are actually older than I am or my siblings are, you know. To get to realize that he's actually been doing this way before we actually existed, you know. And then the more I got to know, the more it broke my heart, you know. And the worst thing was that some of his kids would actually reach out to us as his kids, right? To build the relationship, to sort of like get to know us. But it always felt uncomfortable, you know, to a point where I myself even gotten to a point where I asked him to say, if these are your kids, why don't you then introduce them officially instead of us having to talk to them behind our mom's back, you know? And then he will even go as far as saying, but those are kids from outside, you know, referring to his own kids as kids from outside, you know. Just a man who thinks about kids in that manner actually just broke my heart. To a point, fast forward, there's a lot that has happened though. But I've realized that it is truly impacting the kind of relationships that I have currently. There's a small red flag. Mostly if a person lies to me, it's things that I cannot stand. I mean, I'm 35 years old now, not yet been married. And I think it's mainly because of that. I scrutinize a lot.
Yeah.
I think long term, you know, when someone does something, if there's a small red flag, I always think probably it's going to lead to that. Do I want to live the kind of life that I saw my mom and dad living, you know, where I felt like my mom had to stay, you know, because probably she was thinking about us. And even though it's something that I still don't get till today, but I don't want to be in that position. I mean, I saw my mom going to a point of having diabetes, high blood pressure, all these things because of all the stress that she was constantly in. I mean, after, sorry to say this, but after my mom passed on, I mean, my dad had a child 6 months later after my mom passed on, you know. things like that I still feel like I've not healed from,
Yeah.
and it's definitely impacting me. You know,
How's your relationship with your dad now?
before this show, I thought it was great. Honestly, I won't lie. I thought I had forgiven him, but immediately when it started with the intro, I felt how my heart just broke. You know, just thinking about all the pain. And I'm sure he does not realize how much it has impacted me per se. But I mean, it's a work in progress. He's my dad. I love him, but I definitely don't want a partner like him, or I don't want someone to have kids with who will actually do that to me.
Yeah. And I wish you all the best, Patu. You deserve a partner that's going to love you, and a partner that's not going to put you through hell. And I hope that you can start your own journey of healing, even in that journey of forgiving your dad. And I'm sorry that you've gone through what you've gone through. I know how tough it is. I know how it impacts even the relationships that you have in the future. And I think sometimes our parents just don't understand the trauma that we got from those experiences. But I think we are a new generation, and as we start having our own and establishing our own families, we have an opportunity to do things differently. Patu in Joburg, thank you. Tsidi, you're calling us from Cape Town. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Yeah, I think you're very right when you say that our parents don't realize the trauma that they cause us, probably because of the generation that they grew up in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my story is as far as my parents have been married since 1977. They are still married. My father has had 4 children while married to my mother. My one sister is like 2 months older than I am. So for most of my young life, I thought I was the last born because my dad got other children from his previous marriage. But then when I was about 17, he started introducing me to these other half siblings without warning, without discussion, nothing. He would literally just wake up one day and be like, do you want to meet such and such a person? And because I'm such an agreeable person, I'll never say no. I was very obedient to my parents. I didn't fight, I didn't rebel. Anyway, so I met 3 out of the 4, and I've met their parents, their mothers. Now, I remember when I was young, my parents used to fight a lot, and there are names that used to come up. And when I met my siblings' mothers, then it started to make sense, because these were the names that my parents used to fight about. So I've got good relationships with 2 of my sisters, but I've got the most resentment for my dad. I love him to bits, I really, really do, but I resent what he did to me, because also now that he's in his old age, it's not something that I'll ever discuss with him. I can't. I don't think he would be able to handle that, or he would understand. But he's also now, through the years, started to basically, he wants me to be the glue between all my siblings. Like one of my siblings, he said when my mother found out that I knew, he told me to lie about how we met when he was the one that took me to meet her. So, like, family secrets, the thing is that they're not overtly destructive. It happens over time, slowly but surely. And then you wake up one day and you realize, no, man, I'm damaged. I'm damaged. And and what irritates me is he was almost making me clean up his mess. Like, he would ask me to take my siblings to family events and introduce them. I'm like, I was not involved in this. Why?
That's unfair.
Yeah, so
That's unfair on you.
it's terrible. Yeah, so people don't understand when I say I don't want to go home, but like the tension at home is all because I think my mom is also resentful as a result, and the atmosphere at home
It's
just
just
not
unhealthy.
fine. I'd rather not be there, yeah.
Oh, Tsidi, thank you for calling us, and I wish you healing. I wish you healing. And as you can hear, a lot of the people who are calling will say, like, I love my dad. But there's something here that has pained me so much. That's the experience of many people out there. And nobody has given them an opportunity to even talk about the pain that they've witnessed, that they've experienced from what they have witnessed as children. And really, my only hope is we have an opportunity to do things differently. Because some of you, your father doesn't even have the capacity to even have that conversation with you. They won't understand it. Like, some of the parents are going to think, why are you getting yourself involved in older people's things? So I get it. It's complicated. But man, we have been broken by the things that we've witnessed. And maybe you don't realize that, but maybe it's your partner who picks up the smaller things that happen in the relationship or in your marriage, but you've not been able to trace it back to what you witnessed when you were a child and what you were subjected to. Let me go through some of the messages that have come through on the WhatsApp line. Anonymous says, "Hey Clement, the adultery of my father has affected myself and my little sister. He neglected us and stopped showing us a love of a father. He told me if I want a relationship with him, I must build it with myself, with him. I must make that effort. How can I do that when he hurt my mother? I became my mom's therapist as a young girl." Oh. In 2019, my husband came to finish lobola, and he said he must gain from it. And I was angry till today that my husband's family bought him the symbolic trench coat from Marabastad today. I'm planning a wedding, and he said he's not coming because of that gift of clothes coming from Marabastad. He even said he won't keep the lobola money for the white wedding today. We are planning the wedding from our own pockets. I've concluded that he is a narcissist of a father, and I cut him off entirely. He has brought so much pain on our lives because of his selfish needs and negligence of taking care of his offsprings. Please keep me anonymous. Anonymous, thank you for sending that message, and I hope you're going to have a beautiful family. I hope you'll have a beautiful wedding still, in spite of what you've experienced. I do feel for children who became their parents' therapist at a young age. I feel for you. There's some of you that your mother was consistently coming to you to tell you of what your dad was doing. And you are so young, you are too young to carry the weight of that burden of information. Because maybe your mom didn't want to talk to her friends. Or maybe your mom actually just wanted you guys to see that, oh, look at how terrible your dad is. But that is not fair on a child. And it doesn't matter how as a mom or as a dad, you don't have best friends, you don't have anybody to talk to. You cannot overburden a child who's 6, who's 8, who's 10, who doesn't understand even the concept of adultery in the way you do with information like that. And if you are to tell them, there's a way you break the news to a child who is not old enough to understand. But sometimes as parents, we're driven by hate, and you want the children to see the dad as a monster or to see the mom as a monster. You start saying these things about their mother. Maybe it may work for you because it makes you feel better, but that is unfair on a child. Another message here says, "Hi Clement, I wish I could have my ex listen to you right now. He used to take our daughter to his shenanigans. She doesn't like her dad anymore, and now he thinks that our daughter is being disrespectful." Another message says, Clement, my parents have been married since I think that's, this person also gave us a call. So let me move into this other one. It says, "Hi Clement, thank you for your topic and for being vulnerable. I can just feel your pain. Ask this to everyone who has gone through that pain." Another one says, "Clement, you touched my heart. The pain is there forever, especially when there was a child as a result of infidelity. This is a reminder every day, and their father is forcing that child on you. It's painful." That's a message from Anonymous. Another message says, "Morning Clement, I'm an adult woman, 33 years old. I'm a product of cheating. This affects us deeply. When I was young, I struggled because other kids had present fathers. I didn't. I don't connect with my half-siblings because I feel like I'm a reminder In my relationships, cheating is a deal breaker and a no-go zone. My dad has passed, but I feel anger for the fact that he didn't protect his family. Oh, Anonymous, I'm sorry to hear that. And that's an element that we haven't even touched on. When you are a product of cheating, when you have been born as a result of your mom or your dad that has cheated on their partner, do you even feel like you belong in your family? Do you feel the guilt of what your dad has done? Because now you become that constant reminder. Jennifer, you're calling us from Durban. Good morning.
Hi, Clement. I just wanted to, you've talked a lot about men being the adulterers, but I wanted, just share my story about how my father's adultery affected me as a young girl of 12 or 10, I think, where he would come and fetch me. He was allowed to see me on Friday night, and he would come in his car with a woman much younger than him. My parents were divorced. This was his only custody time with me. And, we'd go to nightclubs. I was about 10, 11 years old, and we'd go to these fancy nightclubs, and he'd be drooling over this young girl, a literally young girl, I think in her late teens or early 20s. And I wanted to be that girl. All my life, I wanted to be that girl. And as a result, I had numerous affairs during my marriages because obviously there was a sexual component to what the attraction was for my father. It was so. One night we went to a movie and he left me with one of these women and just disappeared. And eventually there were no cell phones. I'm 77 years old now. But that impact it's had on me. And I spent all my relationship, I was married 3 times, still wanting that, that sexual affirmation, if you like. And so, I left my husband, my first husband, with 2 little children while I rushed off with somebody else. It's had a devastating effect on my second daughter, and we still have a very, very fraught relationship. And I also battled when, I became the victim when my second husband left me for somebody else. And I'm still trying to recover from all of that, and I'm 7 years old. It's just appalling. How this conversation has awakened so many sore feelings inside me about, then I can still feel the pain of, those early years, how it affected me, and the pain that I feel when I'm with my daughter and how she's angry with me. Anyway, that's my story. So, it has such a long-lasting effect. As I say, I'm 77 years old, and I'm still in guilt about what I did. I'm still in pain about what my dad did. And I still, thank God now, I kind of have grown out of wanting sexual affirmation, but it's painful. It's extremely painful, and it's hard to get through.
Jennifer, thank you for your call. Thank you for being vulnerable to share that story with us, and I can feel your pain. I do. I can feel your pain, and I'm sorry that that's what you were subjected to, because I realize, actually, as an adult, that most of how we even attach as adults, through our friendships, through our relationships, most of it has a link to how we were raised and what we witnessed. And that's why I'm hoping that parents can awaken to the reality of the pain and the trauma the children undergo, and how that shapes their relationships and how they express themselves in the future. Thank you for sharing your story with us, Jennifer, and I hope you can find healing and fix your relationship with your daughter. It's a minute before 11.
At Auto & General, we understand your business is built on more than just vehicles. It's your stock, tools and equipment, and the premises where you work. Auto & General Business Insurance is designed for businesses like yours, protecting your assets against fire, theft, storms, and other unexpected events. To protect your livelihood, visit autogen.co.za and get an obligation-free business insurance quote. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
We get told to wait for things. Wait for the right moment. Wait for a rainy day. Wait till the cows come home. Cows? Really? Well, the waiting is over because the Decofurn Furniture Black Friday Super Sale is now on. And with 15 to 40% and more off everything for the whole of November. What are you waiting for? The Decofurn Black Friday Super Sale, now on, in-store or at decofurnsa.co.za.
Classics on Turf is back, where golf and classical music meet in one unforgettable Johannesburg night. Join 702 at Kilani Country Club on Friday, the 14th of October, as Kutlwano Masote leads a full orchestra bursting with energy, color, and rhythm. Sharing the stage, Judith Sipuma brings her velvet voice and unmatched charm to a proudly South African musical celebration. Your ticket includes delicious canapes and welcome drinks, and with a rain-proof setup, the show goes on no matter the weather. Book now at quicket.co.za. Classics on Turf is proudly made possible by Telkom and brought to you in partnership with 702.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I am Sfiso Zulu. 3 security guards have been injured and another sustained burnt wounds during an explosion at the Bree substation. Joburg City Power says the blast happened last night and left some parts of the CBD without electricity. Investigative teams discovered a burnt knife near the affected cables, which are believed to have been tampered with. City Power's Isaac Mangena says smoke from the explosion has cleared and technical teams are assessing the damage.
The incident resulted in power outage affecting most of the inner city actually. 3 on-site security guards were also injured and one is critical and he has been taken to hospital with burn wounds where he's receiving necessary medical care.
As the country prepares for its first midterm budget policy statement under a coalition government, some economists believe National Treasury faces a difficult task of stabilizing debt, restoring credibility, and still finding space for growth. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana is set to deliver the midterm budget policy statement in Parliament today, which is a little more than 3 months since the country's main budget. The mini-budget allows government departments to apply for adjustments to their budgets, rollovers, and request additional funds for unforeseeable and unavoidable expenditure. It also sets out the policy framework for the budget that is presented every February and updates National Treasury's economic forecasts. Nokayam Dambo has the details.
National Treasury will present the 2025 medium-term budget statement against the backdrop of a modest domestic recovery and an increasingly tumultuous global landscape. Economists at Nedbank believe Treasury will likely reduce its GDP growth forecast for 2025 slightly due to shrinking fixed investment and lower exports in the first half of the year. They also project higher revenue growth in the current fiscal year, supported by robust increases in personal, corporate and value-added taxes. Nedbank estimates an overshoot in gross tax revenue of 60 billion rands in 2025-2026. Economists at Investec agree that there'll likely be a fairly substantial overrun in revenue receipts, adding the doubling in the gold price to nearly $4,000 per ounce boosted mining revenues in addition to platinum. Treasury's efforts to ensure fiscal consolidation through spending restraints and efficiency measures are also expected to take center stage. Nogukanyam Dambo, Eyewitness News.
Meanwhile, Deputy President Paul Mashatile says the GNU is coherent and working well, promising that there won't be any embarrassing hiccups during the budget today. Answering questions in the National Assembly, Mashatile said despite challenges over the past year, the GNU has learnt from the budget bungle earlier in the year. Lindsay Dentlinker reports.
Deputy President Paul Mashatile says it can't be expected that it will always be smooth sailing for 10 political parties to work together. But he says the GNU is committed to its priorities of growing the economy and attracting investment.
nobody will keep the country back because there's something they don't agree with.
Mashatile says last week's GNU retreat was highly productive, and there's been agreement on the medium-term budget that will be tabled today.
We have found one another. So don't be worried about anything. We have learned from that experience.
Mashatile says the GNU's success should not be measured by its disagreements, but rather its ability to overcome them and move forward. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And the BBC's outgoing boss has urged staff to fight for its journalism as the British broadcaster grapples with how to respond to US President Donald Trump's threat to sue over a misleading edit. Team Davies' rallying cry came after Trump threatened the BBC with a $1 billion lawsuit. The controversy also lifted the lid on tensions at the top of the renowned institution over the coverage of issues including the war in Gaza and put the British government in a tricky spot with its closest ally. Earlier this week, the BBC apologized for giving the impression that Trump had directly urged violent action just before the assaults on the US Capitol by his supporters in 2021 in a documentary that aired in October last year. Speaking to Fox News, Trump says he has an obligation to sue the BBC over the way a section of his speech was edited in the Panorama documentary.
Going ahead and suing the BBC?
Well, I guess I have to. You know, why not? Because they defrauded the public, and they've admitted it.
Gold is trading at $4,115.18 an ounce. The rand is at 17.13 to the dollar, 22.51 to the pound, 19.84 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $64.93 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N1 South leaving Midrand. This is between Allendale Road and the Baklu interchange. Traffic on the N1 South, unfortunately, remains heavily backed up. This is due to an earlier accident after Maritzburg Road off-ramp. Delays all the way towards the Soweto Highway. I'm also seeing a road closure between the N17 and the Soweto Highway. As a result, officials are trying to clear the scene. So please try to use alternative routes if you're heading towards Xavier or even Southgate. Maybe try to use the M1 South.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng with afternoon showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 25 and 27 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: 3 security guards have been injured and another sustained burnt wounds during an explosion at the Bree substation.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
8 minutes after 11 o'clock. Let's get some energy back here because the healing hour will just show you flames. Thank you, though, on a serious note, for being vulnerable enough to share your stories with us. I think you at least make it a little easier for other people to also call in and share things that they've never even shared before with anybody. You know, never mind publicly. And I think we are on a journey of healing together. That's what I would like us to continue doing. Healing together. Because these are conversations that shouldn't be spoken about. Huh? These are conversations that shouldn't be spoken about. And these are conversations I want us to bring to the open. Because how do we heal when we don't talk about what has troubled us? How do we heal when we don't acknowledge the trauma that we have been subjected to? When we don't acknowledge the pain, the anger, the anxiety. So it takes us talking about these issues, as uncomfortable as they are, for us to get to that journey of healing. So I appreciate all of you that have called us, all of you that have not called, but you were listening and you related. I wish you well in your own journey of healing. Let me wrap it all up with this message from Anonymous, who says, Clement, I would like to apologize to all the children who went through this pain. Deep down in my heart, I apologize to you all. Why? Because I am one father who used to be like that. Now we are separated with the mother of my children for the past 7 years. I can't turn back the years to correct my foolishness, but once again, I'm sorry to all of you. That's a message from Anonymous. Thank you, Anonymous. And yeah, may the journey of healing continue. It's 10 minutes after 11. It's time for our Listener's Choice feature.
Burning questions.
Insightful answers.
Listener's Choice.
With Clement Manyathela.
On our Listener's Choice feature today, we are looking at the issue of self-defense and how valid it is as a defense in law. One of our listeners has asked that we discuss this, and I know there are some of you that have found yourselves in a situation where you felt the need to defend yourself, and maybe during a break-in, maybe during a confrontation, or even a public altercation. And in those moments, often instinct takes over. But once the danger passes, the question then becomes, what does the law actually say about your actions? What are the actual legal limits? When does defense become unlawful? I mean, in South Africa, self-defense is quite a complex area of criminal law. Yes, it recognizes that you have a right to protect yourself, your loved ones, or even your property from unlawful attacks, but that right still has limits. Right? The law looks closely at whether the threat was immediate, whether your response was necessary, whether the force you used was reasonable under the circumstances, etc., etc. So I want us to look at what the law actually says so that you know next time when you want to defend yourself, even though I know when you are in that moment, you're not thinking about, oh, how am I going to be able to explain this in court? Because the instinct says, defend yourself. Have you ever acted in self-defense, and how did that work out for you? I would like you to share your experiences with us on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Tabi Singh Dubazana is the director of at Dubazana Attorneys, who's joining us now on the line. She's going to guide us through this conversation. Tabi Singh, thanks for making time. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Thank you so much for having me.
Can you just start by explaining in simple terms what the law in South Africa says and how it defines self-defense?
So self-defense or private defense is wherein you are protecting not only yourself, but another person who is in immediate and direct danger from another individual. So if I were to make an example, you are probably driving in your car and you see somebody who's about to hijack you, and then if you are a licensed firearm holder, then you're able to pull out your gun because you can see that somebody is pointing a gun at you as well. So to protect yourself and to protect your property, by the way, private defense also extends to your property as well. It doesn't end at just a person or the body. So anyway, you're protecting yourself, you're protecting your vehicle. You are permitted to retaliate with the same kind of weapon, which is the gun in this situation, and protect yourself. Let's say a friend, somebody you know, or even a stranger, you've seen that they are in trouble, they're being attacked for one reason or another. You are able in our law to step in and protect that particular individual. But as always, there's always howevers in the law. You're not permitted to go beyond certain aspects for you to be determined to deal with self-defense.
Well, what are some of those limits? Because many people believe that self-defense means you can just respond to force with force, right? What are the actual legal limits? When does defense then become unlawful?
I'd actually like to use an example of a case that I dealt with some time back. So this lady was in an abusive relationship. So over years and years and years of her being abused, this one time her husband at the time comes home, and she knows, because it's a pattern. She knows that when he comes home like this, he's going to start beating on me and whatnot. So she actually prepared herself. And then when he came in, rolling in and started to attempt to assault her, he pushed her, and then she fell to the ground, and she stabbed him on the leg. What's this? Not the thigh. The English word has escaped me for some reason. But be that as it may, she stabbed him on the leg, and he bled to death. She was then charged with murder, and she raised the private defense as a defense. And the state was saying, no, but at the time that you were being attacked, he had not actually started, he only pushed you. So retaliating with a knife is going beyond the limits or the requirements of self-defense. And she was able to show, as a result of the history that she went through, that it was justified that she acted in that manner. So I'm using this as an example because sometimes self-defense doesn't happen as a result of years and years and years of abuse. It would be a situation whereby immediately at this particular moment, Nkabisa is attacking Clement. She has a knife in her hand, and he, being bigger perhaps, then retaliates and pushes her, but unfortunately she gets injured. Now, what does this mean? Does this mean Clement has exceeded the bounds of self-defense? No, because Clement was acting within what he saw as a danger to him. So this is an example that I give when I explain how the bounds of self-defense are, because they actually are determined, I beg your pardon, on the merits of each case.
So the law must still determine whether someone's response was reasonable in the circumstances. That becomes the crux.
100%.
Okay.
Yes, 100%.
Is there a difference between defending yourself and defending another person and defending your property, when it comes to defense in law?
Yes. So when it comes to defending yourself, obviously the danger is imminent. You feel scared. So they look at it subjectively, and then they also have to look at it objectively. So it has to be some sort of balance to see that if an objective person in your shoes would have reacted in the manner that you have, that's the first one. And then secondly, they need to hear from you as the individual, how you were feeling at that particular time, the kinds of fears that were coming out, and would a reasonable person relate to such a situation. That's why it's important during trial proceedings, especially if you're the accused, you and your attorney have to be on the same page. So if there needs to be some sort of psychological assessment that needs to be done, so that a report can be placed before the court to say, under these circumstances, it is reasonable to expect another person to react in the manner that the accused acted in, so that it can help in your defense. So that's when you're protecting yourself. And then when you're protecting another individual, you need to assess the danger is not imminent to you. So from what you observed, had you not stepped in to assist, would this person have been in a worse off situation, or would they have been able to defend themselves, or it was evenly matched, for lack of a better term? And if the answer, when you look at it objectively, is that it was evenly matched, it means that likely that the party be charged with either assault or assault to age, depending on what happened to the assailant at the time.
Yeah. Oh, and Tabisa, let me put you back to the producers quickly. The line is beginning to deteriorate there, so I just want to make sure that we've got you on a good line so we can hear exactly what you've got to say. Have you ever acted in self-defense? How did it work out for you? Why don't you give us a call on 011 883-0702, or you can send us a WhatsApp voice note on 0727021702. And look, I know that in some cases you act out of fear, even when there isn't like an immediate attack. Like, for instance, you've got victims of ongoing domestic abuse. You have been subjected to abuse before, maybe multiple times. And then this time around, even though there was no, overt, clear attack, you still somehow acted out of fear because you had expected things were going to go worse, whether that was going to be the case or not. Like, how is it dealt with in law when they are looking at those circumstances? Your WhatsApps are coming through on 072 702 1702.
Hi, hello, Clement and your guest there. Can you please ask, does she mean that if a person is attacking me by the fist, I cannot use a knife or a gun, so I cannot defend myself with another weapon, a weapon higher than what I'm being attacked with? Is that what she's saying?
Thank you for your question, Tabi Singh.
Yes, actually, that's exactly what I'm saying. You need, like you were saying earlier, Clement, that you need to meet force with force. I cannot now hit you with a fist and then you now bring out a knife. And still, like I said, the law has a lot of howevers involved in it. So even if that is the situation, even if it's a man fighting a man and you are both using fists, but if we look at the body and the physical stature of the assailant, let's say he's bigger than you, and let's say maybe he's a boxer by profession and all of those things, he would be held at a higher standard versus you, the normal Joe, who goes to work every day and doesn't really work out. And as a result, it would be determined that based on those factors, it would have been reasonable for you to use a knife instead of using a fist, because if it had used your fist, you may have been fatally injured or at least have such severe injuries on you. Therefore, it would make sense for you to retaliate with a knife. So it always depends on the circumstances of each case.
I see. So what happens when I was saying earlier that in some instances, people are acting out of fear, even when there isn't an immediate attack. Like, for instance, if you are constantly subjected to domestic abuse at home and you, out of fear, even though there was no immediate, clear, overt attack, you respond because you were fearing that it was going to get to a point where there's violence, because that's what has happened historically. How do you argue that in court?
So just like the example I gave you earlier, which is the angle that we took when we were arguing for the accused, to say that it cannot be that she murdered her husband, because murder means the intentional killing of another human being. So whether it's premeditated or whatever, there must have been intention behind it. So in this situation, our argument was, every single Friday, when he comes back drunk, he beats on her. Here's the proof. She's got J88, blah, 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 blah. And after that, we were able to show the court that from her perspective, her deciding that today is not going to be the day where she subjects herself to that kind of assault, and her retaliating and stabbing him in the leg was tantamount to self-defense. So now the court now had to look at whether or not the fact that he ended up dying as a result, what would fall within the ambit of murder. So what ended up happening in that particular case is that when she stabbed him in the leg, she cut one of these big veins that have a lot of blood that goes throughout the entire body. So that's how he bled out and died. So the court said there is no intention, because nobody thinks that if I stab you in the leg, I'm going to kill you. What I'm trying to do is make you immobile so that I can run away. And the court then cleared her of murder and also culpable homicide, which is a competent verdict for murder. And then she was found to not be guilty. So, like I said, with such a situation, you're able to argue it in court. It is up to the presiding officer to accept your argument. But I do understand that some presiding officers may not see it that way. So each case has to really be decided on its own merit.
So, do you have to try, run away first before defending yourself? Or can you immediately, as soon as you see you're in danger, the first action you take is force by force, return force with force?
So the real thing is, cowards, the quote goes, cowards are always going to be safe to be alive. So if you are able to run away from the situation and this person keeps coming at you, then you hit. Especially if you're lucky enough that there are witnesses to this event, they can say, no, Nthabi Singh actually walked away. Nthabi Singh started to leave the scene, but this particular individual was always coming behind her, and this is how this happened. Then you can show that I was not the perpetrator. I was unfortunately the one who was found in this situation, and as a result, I'm the one who now has to come and defend myself. So yes, if you can, if the situation permits you to, try and walk away. If the assailant does not let you walk away, it gives you more grounds for your matter to be heard as one of self-defense.
Oh, I see. Here's what's a voice note that's come through.
Hi, Clement and the lady there. This is very interesting. In a situation where you are being attacked, what is the measure? Where is that boundary? Do you stop the action and go and calculate whether you are being reasonable? Have you crossed the boundaries of self-defense? You don't have that time to think about that. This brings me to a very interesting case in Law and Order, I think, where this guy was arguing temporary insanity. So in the moment of action, there's no time to think. So I think that defense of temporary insanity comes in and is relevant. We cannot be overwhelmed by criminals. At the same time, then we cannot defend ourselves in law. Thank you, Sia.
Sure. Thank you, Sia. Ntabiseng?
So with us, our laws are a little bit different than American law. So if you are going to plead temporary insanity, so we're going to look at Section 76, 77, and 78 of the Criminal Procedure Act, wherein we're going to take you to a mental institution and have you assessed for about 30 days, whether it is privately or at the expense of the state, so that a professional can determine that really at that particular time, it can be that you did suffer a situation of insanity for that particular moment. But if those results come back and it's a negative, then you're in a bit of a bind, because you could have done other things. In the law, there's so many other options that are available to you except having to plead in insanity. So, for example, if you ended up killing somebody, instead of it being murder, it can be culpable homicide. And with culpable homicide, 90% of the time, you're not going to go to prison. You may previous conviction, but 90% of the time, you're not going to end up in prison, depending on the circumstances. You're able to negotiate with the state, depending on the fact of each case. So let's not go that route, because if the report comes back and says you were saying you had what we call criminal capacity at the time of the commission of the offense, you may just be tried for the murder, for example, when you could have been tried for something like attempted murder or culpable homicide.
Okay.
Morning, Clemza. The law is very grey in these areas of self-defense, self-protection, and the type of force that you can use. But I think at the end of the day, Clement, to simplify it, it all depends on who can afford the best lawyers. If your lawyer can argue a good point, you've got a strong legal team, you shot someone that was in your yard, you can say I was in danger. But if I don't have money, then I shoot someone that goes into my yard, they can say, no, you are not in danger. So it all depends on who's got the better lawyers.
Another one here, Ntabiseng says, the question says, what happens if a person believes that they are being attacked, but later it turns out that they were mistaken, but in that moment they believed there was an attack?
Well, see, that's a very nice question. So if I were to answer it, let's look at what's this robbery with aggravating circumstances. So that is when you are perceived robbery with aggravating circumstances involves a weapon of sorts.
Oof, yeah. Ntabiseng, let me put you back. I'm going to try again. I apologize, guys, for the quality of the line. I'm told that she doesn't have power where she is, and that's why the line is not so good. There's no power. So please bear with us. We've got 2 more minutes left, and I see so many questions coming through from some of you, so I want to see if she can get through at least 3 more questions before we wrap up. There's a question that I've just asked now about, is it not going to work? Okay, the producers are telling me that the line is deteriorating further and further. Okay, I apologize for that. Maybe what we'll do is we'll have part 2. Can we have part 2 of this conversation? Yeah. We'll have part 2 of this conversation. We'll bring her back and hopefully we'll be on a better line. We'll make sure that maybe we get her when she's in the office so that there's an alternative should we struggle with the line. But I hope what she was able to share with you was informative in as far as how valid self-defense is, and you now understand just defense in law, and you know what to do the next time there is danger, and you know what you can expect based on your actions should the matter go to court. It's going up to 11:30. Shall we get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines with Mbali Dlamini? Good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Cases of fraud and defamation have been opened against embattled crime intelligence head Dumsani Khumalo at the Brooklyn Police Station in Pretoria today. The cases were opened by Stuart Sharnick, a close associate of suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner. This after Khumalo listed Sharnick's criminal history before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry last week. 3 security guards have been injured and another sustained burn wounds during an explosion at the Bree substation. Joburg City Power says the blast happened last night and left some parts of the CBD without electricity. Investigative teams discovered a burnt knife near the affected cables, which are believed to have been tampered with. And as the country prepares for its first midterm budget policy statement under a coalition government, some economists believe National Treasury faces the difficult equation of stabilizing debt, restoring credibility, and still finding space for growth. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana is said to deliver the medium-term budget policy statement in Parliament this afternoon. Those are the headlines, this EWN and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Traveling on the N1 South, we still have got heavy traffic volumes heading towards Soweto. This is due to an earlier accident. As a result, the road has been closed off to traffic, and do expect delays between the N17 and the Soweto Highway. While traveling on the M2 West, we've got another accident scene reported in the Selby area. Is right near the Crown interchange. It is slowing down traffic coming out of Heidelberg Road. There's also queuing traffic on the N3 North due to those long-term roadworks taking place between Marlborough Drive and the Baku interchange, causing delays. While heading towards the city of Tshwane, do expect heavier traffic volumes on the R21 North due to more roadworks approaching Olifantsfontein Road. And that's your last traffic update from me, Amo Ramela. The Waskarabo Jali will be with you from the top of the hour onwards. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Sharing Space
On the Clement Manyathela Show.
702.
Time for the sharing space, and this is where we share our stories about anything that's happened in your life, at work, in your family. Share it with us. If you need advice, ask for our listeners to give you advice. Otherwise, if there's no advice being sought, we're going to listen to the story, and then I want you to then call us or send us a WhatsApp voice note and tell us if you can relate, if it's something you've experienced before as well. Shall we? All right, we've got a voice note today. And remember, if you want to share a story with us, you can simply send me an email on cm@702.co.za. Here's our story for today.
Hi, Clement and your listeners. I'm a white person who works in an office with mostly black people. Most of them are my friends, and we share almost everything. I love chatting with my colleagues and even just listening into their conversations. But sometimes I feel left out when they speak vernacular. I've tried to learn some words, but I'm obviously not very good at it yet. I've asked one of my colleagues to translate conversations for me, but sometimes she gets tired and tells me to just learn the language. But the problem is that they are different languages. Sometimes they speak isiZulu, which I think I understand a bit of. Other times they speak Sesotho, which I'm struggling with. I feel really left out and want to connect with people I now consider my friends. How can I raise it with my colleagues so that I don't seem entitled and without causing racial tensions? I don't want them to think I am imposing my English language on them.
Okay. Anonymous, thank you so much for that. So, have you been in the same situation that Anonymous is consistently in the office? And how do you advise she must address the issue? So, just to recap, she says that in the office, she's got colleagues that often engage in conversations in their indigenous languages, right? In their vernacular languages. So they speak isiZulu, they speak Sesotho or Sepedi, and she's white, she speaks English, and sometimes she can't join in those conversations. And she has tried to learn isiZulu, so she can understand a bit of that when they speak isiZulu, but she says sometimes they speak Sesotho, and she doesn't understand that language, and she feels left out. Obviously, the solution wouldn't be, oh, go and learn all the languages, because where does she even begin? But she wants to be part of those conversations because these are people that she considers her friends. How should she handle it? Must she just accept that, these guys are never going to allow me, then they don't want me to be part of this conversation. That's why they speak in their mother tongue. Or must she go and learn maybe isiZulu so that she's able to understand it further and engage more effectively in that conversation? I don't know what my advice is. I think, so I have been in instances where people spoke Afrikaans in my presence. And because they spoke Afrikaans in my presence, I would also retaliate by speaking Sepedi, like with whoever I am with in their presence. And I once picked up that they take issue with that. And I was like, but you guys, when I'm in your presence, you are comfortable with speaking Afrikaans. But if you are in my presence and I'm speaking Sepedi with this person I'm with, that somehow becomes an issue. I think that's wild. But I think generally, Anonymous, probably what you need to do is, because I think she comes from a good place, right? And Anonymous, I'm at least understanding that Anonymous says she's tried to even learn, isiZulu. I think maybe the first thing is maybe go learn some more isiZulu, because it's not only going to work for you in that office. Like, you live in a country where isiZulu is one of the most spoken languages. That's going to work for you even the next company that you're going to work for. When you're in social settings and people speak this language, at least you're going to be able to engage and understand. I do find that there is some level of entitlement sometimes where, especially in the office spaces, like when you speak your language, it's almost like you are swearing at people because the expectation is, oh, we are in the office space and therefore language should be the language, the medium of instruction. That's the language of communication in the office space. Even when you're engaging with a colleague about something completely different, perhaps your personal life or you sharing what happened on your way to work, how do you manage things like that? Because that's a reality we face in this multi-racial country we live in. Some of you are going to be in the office, there's black and white. Some of you speak Afrikaans, some of you speak English, some of you speak Chivenda, Sepedi, Zulu. How do you accommodate each other? Let's talk. And what advice do you have for Anonymous? 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. It's 23 before 12.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, unfair blacklisting, or an uncontested divorce, Clientele Legal offers professional legal services to all South Africans. Our plans are affordable, and you receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our nationwide legal teams are standing by to support you 24 hours a day. Plus, all plans include a 5,000 Rand bail benefit. Join today. SMS LEGAL to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Before a masterpiece takes shape, there's a single line that starts it all, until every curve and every angle reflects the clarity of a single vision. And only then does inspiration take its final form. The all-new Audi A5, designed to inspire. Starting from $14,499 per month with a guaranteed future value. Visit audi.co.za or your nearest dealer for more. T's and C's apply.
This Thursday, the Clement Manyathela Show will be live from the second annual National Construction Summit hosted by the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure and the Construction Industry Development Board. If you work in construction or you're simply interested in finding out how the government is planning to solve issues affecting South African infrastructure, make sure you don't miss it. The Clement Manyathela Show live from the second annual National Construction Summit this Thursday on 702.
The Sharing Space
on the Clement Manyathela Show.
702.
20 minutes before 12 o'clock. Let's go to your WhatsApps.
Clement, I think the best the lady can do is to learn just one language that she feels comfortable with, either Sesotho or isiZulu. Because she can't learn them all at once, Yeah, that way, she can communicate with them in that language. Because one feels really out when you don't understand these things.
When the team regarding the anonymous call, I will find myself working in the space that is so mixed and diverse culturally and language-wise. I've learned from early then to say, if there's a person of color who doesn't understand us, it's only fair to switch to neutral language. And most, I'll be direct and say, mostly us blacks, when we see each other, we tend to stick to our own vernacular and not accommodate the person, irrespective of what we're talking about concerns him or not. I find that to be very wrong. We need to change and stick to the English to accommodate him or her. I know sometimes jokes can never be translated and mean the same thing, but that's me. Andile and Breakendowns.
Yeah, I hear you, Andile, and I hear that, right? And I think many of us do that in the office space, but till when? I just also think that, and I've said this before, if you live in this country, if you're South African, whether black or white, and you cannot even speak one other official language other than English, you are doing a disservice to yourself. It's not even about anything else. It's you are doing a disservice to yourself. Like, learn some basics of one of the other languages. Like, we've got beautiful languages in this country. Like, some of us have had the opportunity to learn some Afrikaans. Some of us have had the opportunity to learn some isiZulu, Sepedi, Chivenda. You live in this country and all you can speak is English? What the multitude of languages that we have, beautiful languages we have, I think you're doing a disservice to yourself. So, even if this is not just about being part of gossip in the office or understanding what people are saying, do it for yourself. And I promise you, you're not going to regret it.
Shame, Alonza. I was in a similar kind of situation a while back. I think what helped me a little bit, because I could also understand, or thought I could understand isiZulu there and there, I watched some isiZulu shows. Uzalo was one of them. And so, it's got the English subtitles. So that helped me check to say, oh, okay, they're saying this. Then that is what they mean. Oh, when they say this, okay, this is what they're saying. But also Duolingo, it helped me a lot with isiZulu. So I don't know if the other vernacular languages, South African vernacular languages, are on Duolingo, but I encourage the South African community to push for their languages to be on Duolingo. It's a great help, actually.
Indigenous languages.
Oh my God.
Vernacular languages.
Clement, this is something that my colleague and I, who is white, by the way, we're also discussing. But my colleague who's white, she's not of Afrikaans origin. She is of English origin. And most of the times, some of our predominantly white colleagues in the office always switch over to speak Afrikaans. And this really leaves us out of the conversation, and we feel discriminated as well. So we were literally telling each other that we're going to actually raise it in our next meeting, because it really is something that is unprofessional. And even if it's just on a social basis, I think it's good to be inclusive of others. But these guys even go on to talk official company things in Afrikaans, and this becomes very, exclusive in terms of like excluding other people, from the conversation. So yeah, this is very interesting. I can relate to this person, even though she's on the other side of the spectrum.
Oh yeah, that's so true. And that's unfair. And thank you for introducing that other side, because that's what other people are experiencing. You walk in the office, you're in a board meeting, or you're attending a meeting, and people start talking about the subject matter, right? The issue you're there for in the meeting. They start speaking, let's say in Afrikaans, and you are sitting there. They are not including you whatsoever. The only time that they come towards you is they speak English, and that's when they need your input on something or they want to ask you a question. That's equally unfair, right? The anonymous, though, is saying sometimes there are these water cooler conversations. They're not so much like, it's not in a meeting, but it's like we're in the office, like there's camaraderie, we get along and we're laughing about something, but you are not including some of the employees who do not understand your language. How do we navigate even that space? Because in a meeting, I think that's just completely uncalled for. If I'm in a meeting and you're busy speaking Afrikaans, Anjan, and then you come to me when you want my input or you've got a question for me, you speak English, that's wild. Or you're in a meeting, you're busy speaking isiZulu, and there are people who, in an official meeting, then maybe you need to read your contract and understand the company you work for and what the understanding is around what language you're using there. Because why are you coming here with a language that other people do not understand in an official sitting, work set up like in a meeting or in a board meeting? I just think that's ridiculous. Lebogang, what do you think? You're calling us from the Johannesburg South.
Yes, Clement. After morning is Clement.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I'm a blind person. Yeah.
Mm.
I didn't know that one day I'll be blind.
Mm.
So I was learning most of the languages. Tonga, Venda, Zulu, Xhosa, and the other languages.
Mm.
So I like to advise the anonymous. It's a good advantage for you to learn the language. Because now, on my side, for now I'm working in a plantation agriculture. 97% did their Xhosa. So when they speak Xhosa, I do understand fluently Xhosa because now I did learn Xhosa for my advantage.
Mm.
Even now, man, when you go to SABC 1, there's this song story there in SABC 1. They're speaking Tonga there. I'm a blind person. I don't need anyone to translate for me what they are saying. Because I know what they are saying. And then you go to again to SABC 2. You remember Movango. They are no more there now. I can hear what they were saying in Venda. But Venda at least, I was trying to reply there and there. But if they are talking, you cannot gossip about it.
Mm. Yeah.
I like to voice anonymous.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. In the Johannesburg South. Let's go to some more WhatsApps.
Yeah, the issue of language is complicated because even amongst blacks, you will find people who don't speak other people's languages. So yeah, it's very complicated because I can be amongst guys who don't speak Sesotho, and I can't expect them to switch to my language just because I don't know their language.
Good day, Clement and team. I work in Pretoria, and there is like a whole mixture of languages that are spoken here. I just think in the office setting, people should just generally speak English. And if a language that you don't understand is spoken to you or in your presence, no, the conversation is not for you. Could be about you, but it's not for you. But what I've learned is I embrace all languages. I try to speak most languages, especially Afrikaans. You can't speak behind my back in Afrikaans. I will speak back to you in Afrikaans or isiZulu. I Mosotho, but I try and embrace it because I am aware that I live in South Africa and it's diverse and everybody has got the right to speak their languages whenever they want to. So I understand the lady that just sent their voice note. Ach, let it be. She mustn't take it to heart. Just let it be.
Yeah, but I love that she's also tried. You know, there are people who've never even tried to understand a bit of a language. And guys, this is not just an issue of white and black. There are some people who are from other countries, like there are people who are Nigerian, someone who are from the DRC, some people who are from Europe, America, in other countries who now live in this country, and they are part of our work environment. How do we accommodate each other in a place of work without also compromising on ourselves? I mean, sometimes my English bundles are also gone. Like, I'm tired of speaking English. And sometimes I'm like, hey, but I want to talk to someone in that language. What I won't do though is, if there's someone in our company who can understand Sepedi, I will switch to accommodate them. But my message is always, you need to learn something as well. Like, let's accommodate each other. It can't be that the compromise is always made on one side. I mean, is that fair? Learning languages is difficult for anyone. So the minute it's going to be a problem is when you feel entitled to me speaking in a language you understand, when we're not in a meeting and I'm just having a normal informal conversation with other colleagues. But what I like about Anonymous is she's tried to chat to them, like to understand and learn a bit of Zulu. Her issue is sometimes they switch to Sesotho and she can't understand that. And I think it's unfair if you've got someone in the office who's also your friend, you get along, and you're constantly having these conversations that doesn't include them. So how do we resolve that? 10 minutes before 12.
Ask yourself, what matters most? Is it being there for their first steps and still around for their first dance? Knowing you're not just covered, but cared for. Bonitas goes beyond benefits and claims. We're in your corner for what matters most. Bonitas, medical aid for South Africa. Voted #1 medical aid in the Ask Africa Orange Index Awards for the second year running. Visit bonitas.co.za and find your plan.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
For the first time on African soil, business leaders from across the globe will gather for the B20 Summit in Sandton from 18th to 20th November. On the agenda is inclusive growth and prosperity through global cooperation. Today, the Clement Manyathela Show will be in conversation with Nedbank to discuss all the insights, expectations, and predictions ahead of the summit. So tune in to 702 in conversation with Nedbank, proud sponsors of the B20 Summit. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider.
The Sharing Space
on the Clement Manyathela Show.
702.
8 minutes before 12 o'clock. Patricia says on the WhatsApp line, Clement, I understand this is Zulu and Xhosa. However, at a SASA office, the official used to give instructions in English. He spoke Sesotho. Fortunately, there was a lovely lady who interpreted for me. This official was absolutely rude, bordering on racial discrimination. I'm a person of color. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, an official who, during their official duties, they're busy talking to you in their mother tongue. That's why I said earlier, maybe people need to refer back also to their contracts. Like, they need to refer back to the contract. Unless, of course, during that moment of you discharging your official responsibilities, you're saying, I don't know how to say this in English, but you can also ask for help. But how does it help you as a leader, as a manager, when you are speaking a language that the people you are giving responsibilities to don't even understand. Huh? Jabulani, you're in Bronkhorstspruit. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm all right, man. Go ahead.
I'm all right. You know, Clement, one thing that a lot of people don't understand, we speak English, we speak Afrikaans. That's not our first, second, or third language. You know, we speak a language where we grew up with. And when people expect us to be speaking in English and Afrikaans, they must understand. It's a lot of work for us mentally to move from your own mother tongue to then speak English. Like I said to you, I'm in Bronkhorstspruit, and it's a Afrikaans dominated community, and people here refuse to speak English. Refuse. They will speak Afrikaans.
Jabulani. Oh, we're losing Jabulani there. We're losing Jabulani. Yeah, and he says sometimes like people just refuse to speak English, and in many instances they can understand it, but they just don't want to. Well, in that case, if you're gonna come and speak to me in Afrikaans or speak to me in a language that I don't understand, I'm not proficient in, then I'm gonna respond ka Sepedi. Ke tla bolela Sepedi, wena o tla bolela Afrikaans. Re bona re tswela pele bjang. Why must I struggle when we can at least both of us compromise? More of your WhatsApps.
Good afternoon, Clement, and the listeners, and the viewers as well. Clement, yeah, man, I think that's quite unfortunate. I think the lady has got a really good heart. I think she's coming from a good place. But you know, I mean, I work in the mining space. And the issue with the language is it really is a thing where often it would happen that even in meetings, you know, certain people will conduct themselves in a certain language. I myself quite fluent in Afrikaans, so I don't really have an issue with, you know, people switching over to Afrikaans. But then in the context of an official meeting, you know, some people don't really understand the language. And not just in Afrikaans, but other people will also speak, whether it's Zulu or whatever. But in the context of a meeting, it does get quite unprofessional. And it's something that at some point needs to be addressed. I personally have addressed it in one of my meetings. But yeah, clearly it is still quite a thing. Yeah, thank you.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
The loud conversation about the decision by the United States under Donald Trump to boycott the G20. I must be honest with you that I don't understand it. Hell, man. It's one country. They've decided they don't want to come. The other 19 are coming. Can we just get on with it? What if your biggest bully is not as scary as you think he is anymore? There was a time. Maybe Donald Trump is no longer as scary as he used to be. He's a sweet old man who's a little eccentric. And just need to move on, eh?
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
Classics on Turf is back, where golf and classical music meet in one unforgettable Johannesburg night. Join 702 at Kelani Country Club on Friday, the 14th of October, as Kutlwano Masote leads a full orchestra bursting with energy, color, and rhythm. Sharing the stage, Judith Supuma brings a velvet voice and unmatched charm to a proudly South African musical celebration. Your ticket includes delicious canapes and welcome drinks, and with a rain-proof setup, the show goes on no matter the weather. Book now at quicket.co.za. Classics on Turf is proudly made possible by Telkom and brought to you in partnership with 702.
Access to the internet is vital for any country to grow. That's why the recent 6.75 billion rand digital infrastructure deal that Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking facilitated between Telkom and an Actors-led consortium is so transformational for South Africa. It unlocks growth and provides internet access to underserved communities who will now have access to the internet for the very first time. Search CIB Stories of Impact to watch the full story.
Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Building a life across borders starts with choices. Visas, a second passport, citizenship, your child's education abroad. And sometimes those choices can be overwhelming. For 30 years, Sable International has simplified global mobility, including cross-border tax, forex, and wealth management, helping you make the right choices with expertise and care. Build your future beyond borders. Visit us at sableinternational.com.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Let's count backward. 5. Insurance. 4. Pineapple. 3. Insurance. 2. Pineapple. 1. You're under. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
How's it going, Manyathela?
Good, thanks. And you, Clem?
What's coming up on the midday report today?
So we've got the medium-term budget speech this afternoon. So we'll speak to an economist previewing that, tax, inflation, infrastructure development, and then various political parties speaking to us today to tell us what their expectations are. There's been a spate of violent crime yet again in the Western Cape. The Ekurhuleni Metro Police still in the spotlight at the Madlanga inquiry, and then Duduzile Zuma Sambudla's trial underway. We'll bring you the latest from that.
That's the midday report coming up after the news with Manyathela. Thanks for listening to the Wednesday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. We'll be back with you tomorrow between 9 and 12. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Cases of fraud and defamation have been opened against embattled crime intelligence head Dumsani Khumalo at the Brooklyn Police Station in Pretoria today. The cases were opened by Stuart Sharnick, a close associate of suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibia. This after Khumalo listed Sharnick's